All of us were able to take down the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild. After that, I publicly issued a statement saying that the Dragon Slayer Guild is the Eastern Empire's #1 enemy. And any citizen living within the Empire who is found to have a link or some sort of connection with the Dragon Slayer Guild will be publicly executed. The Shadow Guardians have managed to catch many spies of the Dragon Slayer Guild. All of the spies were publicly executed. Good job, Spencer. You did the correct job. Right now, Aditya, Watson, and Spencer were having a meeting. The meeting was held to let Aditya know about all the changes that took place in his absence. And also to inform their king about the attack from the Dragon Slayer Guild and the reaction of their allies on the matter. Aditya was sitting in front of a table, while Spence stood in front of Aditya as he reported everything that took place in Aditya's absence. As for Watson, the former acting Prime Minister was brewing tea for his king and the Prime Minister. Since the statement, all of our allies have cut their cuties with the Dragon Slayer Guild and have banned the Dragon Slayer Guild from entering their territory. If any member of the Dragon Slayer Guild is found within any of our allies' territory, that member will be captured and sent to the Eastern Empire. Basically, the Dragon Slayer Guild has been declared a terrorist organization. All the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild were declared criminals. Excellent. This was one of the benefits of having allies. If any empire or kingdom offended Aditya or his empire, he can put sanctions on that empire that would severely affect that empire's economy. And with the goddess of wealth by his side, Aditya can even cripple the economy of an empire. He currently had the power to bring any empire or kingdom in this continent to its knees. Your Majesty, if I may ask, what actions are you planning on taking against the Dragon Slayer Guild? This is the reason Spencer did not send the Eastern army to completely destroy the Dragon Slayer Guild. Spencer felt Aditya should decide the fate of the Dragon Slayer Guild. Aditya tapped the table with his index finger as his eyes glowed in crimson color. I will personally deal with the Dragon Slayer Guild. Aditya also wanted to find out who gave the Dragon Slayer Guild so much courage that they dared to openly came to the Eastern Empire's capital and challenge the mocked emperor without fearing anyone. There has to be someone who is pulling the strings from the darkness. Spencer, I need you to increase the number of soldiers that we are currently recruiting. If necessary, I want you to build another training ground. Also, order all of our nobles to increase the number of recruits as much as possible. Hearing Aditya's order, Spencer and Watson both were surprised. One had to know that given the current strength of the Eastern Empire, they can defeat any empire on this continent. The current Eastern Empire had the largest troop among all the other empires on the dying Al continent. Yet Aditya still wanted more soldiers to be recruited into the Eastern army. There has to be some reason for this. Your Majesty, may I ask why? Spencer asked in a confused tone. Aditya looked outside from the window. He was looking at Azure City. There was a time when this city was full of corruption and suffering. Now, this city proudly stood as one of the most populated cities on the continent. The whole city was thriving and prospering. The people living in this city never have to sleep with a hungry stomach. Aditya was proud of what he has managed to build. This might sound fake coming from the heart of a power-hungry politician. But whenever Aditya saw the smiles of the common people, he felt a sense of peace. There was a sense of satisfaction in his heart that he never felt in his previous life before. At first, Aditya wanted to change the entire Eastern Empire so that no other empire can step on Aditya and crush him. But now he wanted to protect what he had managed to build with his hard work. Without even realizing it, Aditya had gone from being a power-hungry politician to a king who wanted the best for his people. After an entire minute of silence, Aditya looked at Spencer. When I was stuck in the icy shattered ruin world, I learned many new things about this world. We are not at the top of this world. Just because the Eastern Empire is the biggest empire with the biggest army on this continent doesn't make us invincible. A long time ago, I heard a quote that I never was able to forget. Our power invites challenge. Challenge incites conflicts. And conflicts breeds catastrophe. Our success is envied by others. Our accomplishment is the cupidity of others. Our wealth makes the glutton salivate. Our strength makes us a target. And finally, our very power will invite conflicts. It won't be long before the people from the main continent sets their eyes on our empire. At that time, we will be given two choices. Submit and join them or get destroyed by them. Many great empires have been destroyed by the forces of the main continent. Our empire doesn't have the strength to take on the forces of the main continent. So before we get approached by them, we better prepare ourselves. Aditya has learned the unfortunate fate of the Great Starry Sky Empire. From what he was able to learn, the Great Starry Sky Empire was even more powerful than the current Eastern Empire. But the empire was still destroyed by the forces of the main continent. From now on, the Eastern Empire will focus not only on developing its territories but also on increasing its military strength. Spencer and Watson exchanged a look before nodding their heads at the same time. And I also must reach 4th order. Aditya can reach peak 5th order with all the experience points that the system has saved up for him. But doing that would make people suspicious and invite unnecessary trouble. But if he does it slowly, then no one would suspect him. Maybe I should tell Julia, Alicia, and Ria about the system. They will become my wives and spend their lives with me. The longer I keep this a secret, the more heavier it will become with time. Tell me, what else happened in my absence? We suppressed the news of your disappearance. Other than the incident with the Dragon Slayer Guild, nothing major happened. We did catch a few spies sent by the other empires. Just like you had asked, I had Nathan end their lives. Many of the construction projects have been completed. Good. By the way, that reminds me, how was your meeting with the Fox tribe? Before Aditya was stuck inside the icy shattered ruin world, he had sent Spencer to meet the patriarch of one of the many fox tribes that lived in the Beast continent. The meeting was excellent. The fox queen of the tribe and I were able to negotiate and sign a contract. In exchange for fresh vegetables, wheat, and salt, the fox tribe would provide us with fresh milk and 1,500 wine goats per month. The beast race living in the Beast continent mostly relied on raising domestic animals. Most beast races prefer fresh vegetables, but growing crops or vegetables in the Beast continent is nearly impossible. The wine goat was one of the domestic animals that many tribes in the Beast continent raised. The wine goat is a special type of goat that can grow up to 3 meters long. The wine goats mature, they become peak first mount. Not only that, the meat and milk of wine goat tasted like wine and were said to be very delicious. The tribes living in the Beast continent used the milk of the wine goat as wines. Aditya was planning on establishing direct trade with many of the tribes in the Beast continent in the future. The fox tribe was just the beginning. The current Eastern Empire had millions of people. The meat was one of the things that were highly expensive due to its rarity. Trade relationships with the tribes in the Beast and the continent are aimed at fulfilling the demand for meat in the empire. Also, the wine goat can be used as a magic mount that would make the Eastern Empire even stronger. Perfect. Spencer, you should send our messengers to other tribes. Doing trade directly with the tribes makes the wine goat cheaper and also the whole transaction more profitable. The Eastern Empire can gain the faith of the Beast tribes. Also in the Beast continent, merchants are not that liked as most traders often lower the price of wine goats and wine goat milk from the market price. So the tribes are more than happy to directly trade with a big empire rather than trade with a merchant. While Aditya was having a meeting with his prime minister, someone had come to see the dragon monarch with a piece of urgent news. Kate, I want you to go to the Eastern Empire and give this letter to His Majesty. The expression on Kate's face changed to ugly when she was ordered to go to the surface. Kate did not look comfortable going to the surface. As her master, Laura knew it. But this was an emergency for Laura. She had very little time. Kate was Laura's most trusted person. Laura can only send Kate to complete this task. If possible, Laura would have gone to the Eastern Empire by herself, but the situation didn't let her leave the Deep Sea Palace Empire anytime soon. She can only leave the Deep Sea Palace Empire after the competition ends. Laura had met Aditya around 4 months ago. Back when she met Aditya, she nearly suffocated to death. Her sudden appearance had made Aditya mistakenly assume that Laura was an enemy. Fortunately, all the misunderstandings were quickly resolved. In the end, Aditya and Laura even have a meeting where both become allies in secret. Laura wanted to become the new ruler of the Deep Sea Palace, while Aditya at that time didn't want the Deep Sea Palace as his enemy. Both of them found a common ground. Laura needed a 5-star cultivation pill that would help her break through mid-5th order. In exchange, when Laura finally becomes the ruler of the Deep Sea Palace, she would become an ally of the Eastern Empire and work on bringing the two empires closer. 4 months ago, the Eastern Empire had just transformed from a kingdom to an empire. By defeating all the other kingdoms and dynasties, the Eastern Empire had almost the entire eastern region of the dying Al continent under its control. However, the military of the Eastern Empire wasn't strong enough to fight equally or defeat a well-established empire like the Deep Sea Palace, which had many 5th-order powerhouses. This is why Aditya chose to help Laura. Otherwise, the Eastern Empire has to remain on high alert at all times. Who knows when their sea neighbor might attack them? If Laura becomes the Empress, there won't be any possibility of the Deep Sea Palace Empire attacking the Eastern Empire. To Aditya, investing in Laura was going to give him a big return in the future. However, choosing to help Laura was Aditya's second option because, at the end of the day, Aditya was someone who liked his empire to become strong and also self-reliant. Without relying on anyone, he wanted his empire to be able to deal with any internal and external threat. 4 months later, the standings of the Eastern Empire changed. The Eastern Empire now had the backing of 2 strong empires. This itself was enough to make any force think twice before they attacked the empire. The military power of the empire has been rapidly rising over the 4 months. The empire showed its strength when it managed to capture the entire Southern Fire Dragon Empire within a week. The Black Dragon King, who was said to be one of the strongest peak 5th-order cultivator, was defeated by Aditya. This just proves that the Eastern Empire has grown into something that no other empire can defeat on a whim. Milady, can't you send someone else? Kate was reluctant to head to the surface. Whenever she visited the surface and whenever she saw humans, Kate would recall an event that she wished to forget. The pain in her heart would haunt her like ghost. She felt afraid, terrified, and very sad. Kate, His Majesty knows that you're my personal maid. Normally I would have gone to the Eastern Empire to call His Majesty, but in the current situation, I don't think it would be wise for me to leave the empire. You can deliver this letter in my place. Sending someone else in your place would be disrespectful to His Majesty. Right now the entire situation has been reserved. 4 months later, Aditya's political power has changed. He now stood above Laura in terms of political power. Aditya had the power to face the Deep Sea Palace. Before, their alliance was built on mutual benefit, but now Laura was going to benefit more. Aditya now can just end their alliance if he wants. In Laura's opinion, if she sent someone other than her maid to deliver the letter, this would be disrespectful. This will also show that Laura doesn't value Aditya and the Eastern Empire's alliance. If Aditya breaks the alliance with me, there is nothing that I can do. With his aid, my chances of becoming the Empress would increase. Laura knew that after winning the competition, all the obstacles from her path to the throne won't be cleared. She will face challenges and trials. If she wants to run the empire and keep everything within the empire in her control, Laura cannot allow this alliance to get broken. Alright. I will head to the Eastern Empire to deliver the letter. Though Kate hated humans, she wasn't stupid. She understood how politics worked. Thank you, Kate. Laura smiled and then hugged her personal maid. Laura did not treat Kate like a regular servant or a maid. To Laura, Kate is her only remaining family member. She treated Kate more like a sister than a servant. Scene change. The very same day, Kate returned to Laura with a very distressful news. What? Kate, are you sure that this news is true? Laura asked her personal maid with a disbelieved look. Milady, I am not lying. I met the former acting Prime Minister, Watson. Sir Watson told me that His Majesty had entered into seclusion and was in a critical stage of his cultivation. Disturbing His Majesty at this point would only harm him. Scene change ____. How many days ago did the competition start? Standing before Kate, Aditya asked. The competition was supposed to start 20 days ago. But Milady used her connections and her resources to push the competition by a month. The competition is going to start 6 days later. Aditya met Kate and learned everything from her. As for his disappearance, Aditya clarified everything. He gave Kate a simple explanation of the whole story regarding his disappearance. Kate then proceeded to tell him about the things that he needed to know before he came to the Deep Sea Palace. As of right now, because Aditya had killed 500,000 of Deep Sea Palace troops and their emperor, the people of the Deep Sea Palace hated him and he wasn't welcome to their empire. Before coming to the Deep Sea Palace, Aditya would need to change his appearance so that no one can recognize the Eastern Emperor. The location of the competition has been revealed. This time, all the participants are going to face each other in a battle royal. The last one standing will become the new ruler of the Deep Sea Palace. A battle royal, A battle royal is a barbarous place with no escape. When Aditya was still the prince, he had seen numerous battle royals in the capital. Some poor cultivators would see battle royals as a way of making quick money. The young Aditya was never fond of such a form of entertainment. Around an hour later, Kate left. After Kate left, Aditya continued his meeting with Spencer and Watson for another 5 hours before having lunch with everyone. Ria even sent a letter to her mother asking her if she or the elders knows anything about this illness. After lunch, Alicia had to leave as she had work. After lunch, Aditya had gone out of the Dragon Palace for a little walk. Little did anyone know that his little walk was about to send shockwaves throughout the continent. The Dragon Slayer Guild, also known as the guild that has ended, wiped out many dragon races from its existence. The Dragon Slayer Guild was founded by a strong man who had a strong hate for dragons. Walker was the successor of that person. Now that Walker's story has ended, it was time for Dragon Monarch himself to end this guild. The Dragon Slayer Guild and the Dragon Monarch are always meant to be enemies. Aditya was the king of all dragons. All dragons respected him as their god. While the Dragon Slayer Guild was the killer of dragons. Throughout their existence, they have driven many dragon races to the brink of extinction, while some dragon clans were completely wiped out by them. The Dragon Monarch and the Dragon Slayer's nature clashed. Just like fire and water, like light and darkness, like heaven and hell, good and evil, angel and fallen, hero and villain, a dragon and a dragon slayer can never stop hating each other. The hatred between dragon and dragon slayers has existed for eons. As the Dragon Monarch, even if the Dragon Slayer Guild had not sent its members to the Eastern Empire, soon or later, Aditya would have destroyed the Dragon Slayer Guild. Only one of them could exist. As the king of all dragons, it was Aditya's responsibility to avenge all the dragon clans and the dragons who has been killed by the Dragon Slayer Guild. But that doesn't mean that all the dragons in the world were totally innocent. No, it was rather the opposite. Just like humans, there was both good and evil within the dragons. Dragons cannot be colored white and black on the basis of good and evil. The world is gray. Not every dragon is a saint. Not every one dragon was a sinner. Good and bad existed in their hearts in a balance. There might be some dragons who are totally evil. There might be some dragons who have pure hearts. It is also an undeniable fact that dragons are born with immense powers, and many dragons grow up to become arrogant. Every dragon has pride. It is that pride that prevents dragons from submitting themselves to a person with lower strength and power. Most dragons would rather kill themselves rather than become slaves. This is dragons' pride. However, this pride also is their weakness. Most dragons' pride tend to be 10 times bigger than their power. At the end of the day, no race on this planet was perfect. Not even the angel race was perfect. The word perfect did not exist in any individuals. Dragons were born with flaws just like other races. The world had become a mixture of blue and white. There were almost no signs of life forms before him. The strong wind current seems to want to push his body back. His mighty dragon wings pushed the air and continued to move in an up and down motion. While flying in a certain direction, Aditya appeared to be lost in deep thought. I need to know who asked the Dragon Slayer Guild to kill me. Aditya feared that this might be an enemy. Maybe it was someone from the Northern Frost Dragon Empire. In the last 34 days, the Northern Frost Dragon Empire has changed a lot. The empire's economy has fallen. The princes of commodities have gone through the roof. The peasants and the common class people were suffering the most. The increase in prices also spiked the crime rates throughout the entire empire. People were now committing robbery to sustain themselves and their families. Even the commoner class people can tell that a big storm was going to come. The tension of a civil war taking place within the Northern Frost Dragon Empire has reached its peak. This has forced many families to move from the Northern Frost Dragon Empires and head to the neighboring kingdoms. The people's preferred choice was the Southern Fire Dragon Empire, which now was under the rule of the Eastern Empire. There were many reasons why the common class people were moving to the Eastern Empire's territory. One of the reasons was the stable food prices, the very low crime rate in all the cities, almost no corruption, availability of job opportunities, and affordable housing prices. To a common class family, all these factors made the Eastern Empire the perfect heaven to live. In simple words, if the situation remained like this, the Northern Frost Dragon Empire will keep on becoming weaker and lose its previous shine. The loss of its population will have an effect on the empire's economy and on its military power. Maybe one of the princes or a member of the royal family wants to eliminate me. I am sure that the members of the royal family are smart enough to know that even with my death, the Eastern Empire can keep going. My death won't change a thing. Aditya has been working on making the empire function even without his absence. The current Prime Minister, Spencer, is a really talented man. Aditya has been teaching Spencer for months now. So that in the future, whenever Aditya has to travel to a faraway place or to a place from where he can't teleport back like the icy shattered ruin, the empire won't fall as Spencer would be there to look after it. Unfortunately, Rhea wasn't able to get much information out of Walker's mind. The information that Walker gave was mostly on the members and on the elders that controlled the guild. As for who the contractor was, Walker did not give any information about that. When Rhea tried to force him to speak, Walker's soul was ripped apart. Apparently, Walker's mouth was closed with a soul-binding contract that prevented him from speaking on that matter. Aditya stopped thinking. Standing 2,000 meters above the sky, he looked at the small island located near the West Nia continent. The island was not known to the common class people. Only merchants and people with power and background knew about this mysterious island that existed almost 1,000 kilometers away from the West Nia continent. The island was oval-shaped. The island had tall mountains and was covered in a forest. The settlements inside the islands were built within the forest. This is the infamous Fallen Dragon Island. The original name of the island was something else. But later when the Dragon Slayer Guild took over this island, they changed its name to the Fallen Dragon Island. The Fallen Dragon Island had a big city at its center. At first, this city used to be a marketplace where merchants can buy parts of dragons' bodies at a much cheaper price. The bones of a dragon can be used to make strong first-order weapons or even higher-order weapons, depending on the skill of the blacksmith. The blood of the dragon can be used for making many things such as healing pills, stamina recovery pills, berserk pills, and poisons. The flesh of the dragon was very delicious and increased the speed of the cultivation for a short duration. The eyes of a dragon can be used to make artifacts or used as a sacrifice in some ancient rituals. To a regular person, this might look like a treasure island, but to a Aditya, this island was a rotten hell that needs to be burned and cleaned. Scene change __. Having no idea that the Dragon Monarch was coming, the people of the Fallen Island City carried out their daily activities as usual. The Maragus Brook City, a city that was once a market where parts of dragons were sold by the Dragon Slayer Guild, now had turned into a huge city where 500,000 people lived. This city was the base of the Dragon Slayer Guild. No foreign empire or kingdom dared to step on the Fallen Dragon Guild without the permission of the Dragon Slayer Guild. Coming to this island without notifying the Dragon Slayer Guild was the same as getting themselves killed. Every merchant had to pay a certain fee to step on the Dragon Slayer Guild's territory. The reason the Dragon Slayer Guild is still able to maintain its powers and not get crushed by any other forces is because of this island. Maragus Brook City was a big source of their income. Though the Eastern Empire banned any merchant from its empire from coming here, it did not affect the business of the Dragon Slayer Guild. As long as there is a demand, the merchants will take the risk regardless of the consequences. Really, thank you very much to all those who 100,000 royal gold coins for just half-broken dragon bone. Are you kidding me? This is overpriced. Lower your price. I will buy this half-broken dragon bone from you right now and right here. This isn't some normal dragon bone. This is the bone of a peak 4th order dragon. Even if his bone is half-broken, this bone can still be used to make a 2-star or 3-star weapon. I am already making a loss by selling this bone for only 100,000 royal gold coins. Whenever cultivator reaches a new order, their flesh, their bones, their organs, in short, every single part of their bodies become stronger. The body parts of 1st order dragon are the cheapest, while the body parts of a 5th order dragon are super expensive. Many barons and viscount rank nobles can never make this much money in 100 years. That being said, slaying dragons or lesser dragons are extremely tough. Stop pretending. I have been in this business for more than 5 years now. I find a similar half-broken bone of a peak 4th order dragon for only 50,000 royal gold coins. This broken part limits the usage of this bone. If I really want to make a weapon or armor out of it, then I would need to find at least a 3-star talented blacksmith. The old man took out a black leather pouch from his storage ring with the intention of giving the shopkeeper 50,000 royal gold coins. Sir, if I sell this bone only for 50,000 royal gold coins, then I would be making no profit at all. If you give me 70,000 royal gold coins, then this one is your. No, 50,000. Then I am not selling it. The old man gritted his teeth and decided to add another 5,000. No, 60. I increased the price by 5,000. You lower the price by another 5,000. How about 60,000? Deal. Both men shook hands in agreement. Soon, the shopkeeper wrote the old man's name on a piece of paper before taking the money. All the records of transactions are recorded and then the profit is calculated at the end of the day. By the way, young man, I wanted to ask you something. Go on. The old man looked to his right and left. After making sure that no one was around him, he leaned forward and spoke in a very low tone. I couldn't help but notice that the security around Maragus Brook City has been increased. Not only that, but compared to a few months before, the number of people coming to Maragus Brook City has also decreased. What exactly happened? The old knew that the Dragon Slayer Guild had messed up by offending the Eastern Empire. He didn't know the full story yet. The shopkeeper came alert hearing the old man's question. Ever since the Eastern Empire killed the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild, it has become taboo for anyone to talk about the Eastern Empire within the fallen Dragon City. 3 foreign merchants were arrested as they openly spoke about the issue. As for what happened to those men, no one really knows. After that event, no one dared to speak on the matter, especially if they were on the fallen Dragon Island. The shopkeeper looked around. Seeing that no one other than his customer was looking at him, he sighed in relief. The Dragon Guild thinks that the Eastern Empire might attack them, which is why they have increased their security around the entire island. Now merchants from the Eastern Empire are not even allowed to come here. The requirements for entering this island also have become very restrictive. I suggest you don't talk about this matter while you're on this island, otherwise it could get you into trouble. Thanks, lad. I will take my leave now. If one of us remains alive, then we will meet again. What do you mean by we remain alive? I am still very young. Well, you look like you might end up dead even if you sneezed too loudly. The old man soon disappeared into the crowd. No one paid any attention to the old man. The old man walked very slowly. He supported his body with a cane. Each time he took a step, his body would tremble. The old man had covered his entire body with a black cloak. The city of Maragus Brook was built near the Maragus Brook River. The name of the city was given after Maragus Brook. As the old man walked throughout Maragus Brook City, no one suspected him. He did his own thing. Occasionally he would stop and buy or sell things. A few hours later, the old man slowly walked out of the city. Since Maragus Brook City was built at the center of the fallen Dragon Island, no walls were built around the city. The Dragon Slayer Guild never saw the need of building a fortress around the city, since the whole island was under their strict control. Instead, the whole city was surrounded by a deep wide trench around the whole city. The trench was filled with water and deadly aqua magic beasts. Once the old man was out of the city, the old man suddenly moved into the forest surrounding the entire Maragus Brook City. Inside the forest, the old man removed the wig. After removing his clothes, in place of the old man, he was one of the generals of the Eastern Empire. Nathan was sent to this fallen Dragon Island to learn more about the Maragus Brook City and the Dragon Slayer Guild. He was also sent here to find out something very important. His Majesty should be here soon. At the same time, 1,500 meters above the island, Aditya was standing in the sky and looking down at the fallen Dragon City. Aditya can sense the presence of some powerful beings on the island. But he wasn't scared. Rather, he felt excited thinking of killing them in front of everyone. Since the Dragon Slayer Guild had sent Walker to take Aditya's life, it would be only fair if Aditya did the same and returned the favor. Today he wasn't just going to destroy them. He was going to take his sweet time in humiliating them. Aditya waited another 10 minutes before deciding to take action. Nathan should be out of the city by now. Nathan is enough to wipe out 70% of the Dragon Slayer Guild. But Aditya wanted to take this matter into his very own hands and show the world the consequences of messing with the Eastern Empire and also get avenge all the dragons that the Dragon Slayer Guild has killed so far. Storm Summon. In a big mansion located at the very center of Maragus Brook City, the Council of Elders that controlled the entire Dragon Slayer Guild was currently having a meeting. It was their 6th meeting of this month. Usually, the Council of Elders would gather once in a month and have a meeting where they would discuss the future plans and actions of the guild. But ever since the Eastern Empire publicly declared the Dragon Slayer Guild as their enemy, the Council of Elders had to come together a total of 9 times in just 34 days. The reason for this was the Dragon Monarch. It was no secret that Aditya was the type of person who held grudges. His ruthless and cunning personality made him even more frightening. Let's start this meeting. The Dragon Slayer Guild had 6 elders, including the head of the council, who was also known as the Supreme Elder. There used to be 7 elders, including Walker. In the eyes of the public, it was kept hidden about Walker being a member of the Elder Council. After Walker's death, the entire council was shaken. No one was expecting Walker to get killed by one of Aditya's women. What made the elders tremble in fear is the fact that Aditya's woman was strong enough to kill Walker so easily, then how powerful Aditya actually was. First, let's talk about last month's profits. Elder Aiden, please give us the details. Elder Aiden was responsible for the finance of the Dragon Slayer Guild. Elder Aiden stood up with a white piece of paper in his hand. Aiden looked at the face of the Supreme Elder who was sitting at the center. Last month, our sales have slightly decreased. Especially the first week after that incident, the number of merchants that came here decreased a lot. After deducting all the expenses, this month our profit is 11 million royal gold coins. Hearing this, the look on all the elders' faces darkened. Before this month, the Dragon Slayer Guild's average profit per month used to be around 35 million royal gold coins. Because of the Eastern Empire, their business has taken a hit. Supreme Elder, we must do something about the Eastern Empire. At this rate, the Empire will affect our business and decrease our profits. Right now the Dragon Slayer Guild was stuck in a very difficult situation. Their contractor, the party who wanted to see Aditya dead, refused to help them out. When Supreme Elder Quincy Harris personally tried to ask the other party to take action against the Empire, the other party immediately refused by saying that as long as Aditya was alive, they don't stand a chance of winning. At the same time, the Dragon Slayer Guild didn't have enough power to stop the Eastern Empire. Their source of income from the Eastern Empire and its allies has been cut down. Sigh. It has been more than a month since that incident happened. I can't help but feel strange by the sudden disappearance of the Emperor from the eyes of the public. Although most of our spies were captured and executed publicly, the news that I received from our remaining spies says that not even the guards have seen the Emperor for over a month. Elder, are you saying that something happened to Aditya? Other elders looked a little bit hopeful. I don't know. Maybe the Emperor is cultivating somewhere else. We can't make any assumptions. Just as Quincy Harris said these words, he and other elders heard a loud lightning cracking sound. As long as the elders heard this sound, all of their faces turned deadly pale. Nowadays it was no secret that the Eastern Empire had crimson flame and crimson lightning. Whenever crimson lightning clouds appeared, the enemies of the Eastern Empire always died. What is happening? All the elders looked outside the window only to see the whole sky covered in dark clouds. Crimson lightning was flickering in the dark clouds. This. A drop of sweat rolled down Quincy Harris's forehead as he stared at the sky. He knew it better than anyone else. The calamity was here. After disappearing for more than 34 days, he was here. Standing above the fallen dragon island, his eyes were dangerously glowing in red as he stared at the oval-shaped island that he was soon going to destroy. Crimson lightning flickered around his body. As if the magic animals and nature were able to sense the incoming danger, all the wild magic animals living on the fallen dragon island and near the oval-shaped island began to run here and there as if trying to find a place to escape from his calamity. The people in Maragus Brook City were able to sense the tense atmosphere. The people who were already familiar with the crimson lightning already began to run out of the city before Aditya started destroying everything. Let's get out of this city before the Dragon Emperor attacks. What should we do? I don't know, man. Our best action would be to leave this island as soon as possible. I don't want to be burned alive. No one is going anywhere. This is the fallen dragon island. Everyone will stay here and fight the Dragon Emperor. On hearing the words of the Supreme Elders, the merchants stopped running and looked at each other. Some merchants decided to trust the Supreme Elder and not run. While others did not stop. They continued to run, trying their best to get out of this island as soon as possible. Curse the Dragon Slayer Guild bastards. Why can't they allow us to use their teleportation array? We could have gotten out of this hell within a few seconds. One of the merchants loudly cursed the Dragon Slayer Guild as he ran towards the beach where his ship was docked. Throughout the entire island, all the merchants who were fleeing for their lives were also doing the same. All the guild members can do is grit their teeth and endure. Facing the Dragon Emperor, there was no certainty if they are going to even survive. Meanwhile, Nathan, who was hiding in the forest, saw the crimson lightning in the sky. A big smile appeared on his face. While others ran in fear, Nathan opened his arms and embraced the crimson lightning as his protector. While everyone's bodies trembled like a bug, Nathan felt his confidence and his courage growing to the height of heaven with each passing second. My king, you're finally here. I have been waiting for this moment for over a month. Let's end the Dragon Slayer Guild. Nathan, who has been hiding his aura, now released his aura, thus attracting the attention of several Dragon Slayer Guild members. Nathan stepped out of the forest as a dark crimson aura enveloped his body. His eyes glowed in killing intent. He held two black curved daggers which were coated with poison. I am the dagger of my monarch. I am the shadow of my king. I am the guardian of my emperor's empire. Oh, members of the Dragon Slayer Guild. Come out. This servant of the Dragon Monarch is here to take your life. With Nathan's roar, he unleashed all of his killing intent. In the presence of his monarch, Nathan had nothing to fear. You small bugs are not worthy of my monarch's attention. As his shadow, I will eliminate you all. At that time, a group of second-order guards came in front of Nathan. Under the black mask, Nathan dangerously smiled before vanishing into the darkness. Where did he go? I don't know. I just saw him disappear within the darkness. Unknown to all the guards, using the shadows of all the trees, Nathan appeared behind the guards. He stepped out of the shadow and started killing the guards. His first target was the last guard standing at the very back and looking slightly afraid of Nathan. Nathan totally suppressed his aura. None of the guards were able to sense his presence. Like a ghost, Nathan took down the first guard before going back into the shadow. He killed the first guard so smoothly that no sound was made in the process. He then appeared behind another guard. One by one, all of the guards soon fell to the ground. All of their throats had been cut off by Nathan. His curved daggers were bathing in red blood. Nathan did not stop there. His plan was to eliminate all the small bugs so that his monarch can focus on the big bugs. Meanwhile, before Nathan started dealing with the small bugs, Aditya was deciding on something else. Right before he started attacking, he had a sudden idea in his mind. System, upgrade my cultivation to peak limit of 3rd order. It has been months since Aditya had reached mid, 3 RD order. It is time for him to reach peak 3rd order. Ding. Using the saved experience points to upgrade the host's cultivation to peak 3 RD order. Ding. The host's level has increased from 201 to 300. Ding. All of the host stats have been increased by 99 plus points. You have gained 198 plus free stats points. Now I am only one level away from reaching 4th order. I can feel my body has gotten a lot stronger. Not only my bones and my organs have gotten stronger, but my brain also become much sharper. This feeling was very refreshing to Aditya. The feeling of getting powerful was really addictive. Now what should I do with my 198 plus free stats points? Aditya wondered. I will think about that later. Aditya coldly looked at the 6 Supreme Elders along with thousands of 4th Order Dragon Slayers flying in his direction. There were 1,209 4th Order cultivators following the Supreme Elders. All of them 4th Order cultivators were riding a 2nd Order magic mount. The magic mounts that they were riding were rock. A type of magic bird that looks similar to an eagle but bigger. The rock is a raptor of immense size and predominantly white in color. With a wingspan of 48 feet and feathers the size of palm leaves, the rock could carry away adult elephants with ease. I certainly wasn't expecting the Dragon Slayer Guild to possess almost 1,000 of rock. A rock is said to be as powerful as a wyvern. It's no wonder why the Dragon Slayer Guild has so many rocks. This is also good. After destroying the Dragon Slayer Guild, I will be sure to add rock to the Eastern Empire's military. Aditya dangerously smiled. He hadn't seen a rock before. This will be a good opportunity to test these rocks' powers and capabilities. Aditya just stood there standing with his arms folded on his chest. He coldly stared at the 6 elders who were cautiously flying in his direction. Quincy Harris, the Supreme Elder of the Dragon Slayer, looked at Aditya in a mix of surprise and shock. Did he manage to reach peak 3rd order while he was gone for 34 days? Harris wondered. This might be possible. The news was also very bad for his Dragon Slayer Guild. Previously, Harris had a little bit of hope of defeating Aditya since at the end of he was just a mid-3rd order. But now that Aditya has managed to reach peak 3rd order, even the little bit of chance that he had of defeating Aditya was also over. This is really bad. This whole month I have been preparing the Dragon Slayer Guild to face Aditya and the Eastern Empire. I thought with all the preparation, we can somehow take down mid-3rd order Aditya. But now all of my plans have been spoiled. At this moment, although Supreme Elder Harris felt very sad and angry to admit it is true that his Dragon Slayer Guild cannot take on the Dragon Emperor. Since he still hasn't attacked us yet, I guess there is a chance that I can negotiate things. Supreme Elder Harris was willing to pay billions to Aditya to compensate him for everything. The whole situation wouldn't have happened if I hadn't become too greedy at that time and had accepted that man's request. Supreme Elder Harris was regretting his choice of messing with the Eastern Empire. Unfortunately, it was already too late and there was no medicine for regret in this world. As long as the Dragon Slayer Guild survives, we can always return strong and get our revenge in the future. But now the survival of the Dragon Slayer is the most important thing. That's what Supreme Elder Harris thought. As the Supreme Leader, he wanted to avoid this clash with Aditya. For that, he was willing to give Aditya billions of royal gold coins if necessary. As long as they survived, even billions of royal gold coins can be earned back. While Supreme Elder Harris was deeply thinking about what he should say in front of Aditya, one of the arrogant elders couldn't control his mouth. Aditya, you got some nerves coming to the fallen dragon island thinking you were invincible. Since you came here, we will send your dead body back to the Eastern Empire so they can dispose of it. Hearing the arrogant elder named Ellis's words, the Supreme Elder felt like ending this idiotic man's life. What the hell are you even doing? I am here trying to find a way to avoid clashes with Aditya, and here you're provoking the calamity. Harris almost lost his calm. But he remained cool as getting angry would cloud his judgment and he would end up making decisions that he will forever regret. Aditya narrowed his eyes hearing Ellis's words. The crimson lightning around Aditya became even more strong as he stared at Ellis. Shut up. Your Majesty, please don't listen to this fool's words. I know that our Dragon Slayer Guild has messed up. We're willing to show our sincerity. Please give us a chance. From these words, Aditya was able to understand what kind of man the Supreme Elder was. It's just like Alicia said. This man is a snake. Very cunning. Once I let my guard down, he will surely bite me. Aditya has met people like Harris a lot in his past life. But Aditya decided to play along. Oh. Exactly how you're going to compensate me? Hearing Aditya's words, Harris's eyes lit up. This meant there was a chance that he can avoid clashing with Aditya. He might be able to restore their relationship with the Eastern Empire. Meanwhile, Ellis understood what the Supreme Elder wanted to do. But he was still dissatisfied. He was disrespected by the Supreme Elder in front of everyone just to please their enemy. It's all his fault. Ellis hatefully glared at Aditya. But Aditya decided to play along. Oh. Exactly how you're going to compensate me? Aditya noticed the hateful glare that Ellis was giving him. But for now, he decided to ignore his glare and focus on Supreme Elder Harris. At the same time, he secretly began activating his other skills. Maybe these snakes will try to take him down with a sneak attack. Aditya needs to be on his guard. Your Majesty, the Dragon Slayer Guild has made a mistake. We realize our mistake. The Dragon Slayer Guild is willing to compensate the Eastern Empire with 1 billion royal gold coins. Hearing the words of the Supreme Elder Harris, everyone else widened their eyes in deep shock. Elder Aiden almost slapped Supreme Elder Harris. Giving away 1 billion royal gold coins would make them very poor. The Dragon Slayer Guild would be left with a few hundred of royal gold coins. And these billion royal gold coins didn't just belong to the Supreme Elder, a big part of it also belonged to the other 5th elders. What this bastard is thinking? Giving away 1 billion royal gold coins is too much. In Aiden's opinion, even giving 100 million royal gold coins was too much. Aditya noticed that now, it was not just Elder Ellis, even the other elders and all the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild who were hatefully glaring at Aditya. Everyone here cares about their wealth more than their lives. It was very easy to guess this fact. Aditya summoned the system from the corner of his eyes and looked at the system log. Storm Summon. Ding. The passive boost of the Storm Marshal class has been activated. The host's mana has been temporarily increased by 50%. The power of lightning and wind type attacks has been increased by 50%. Your agility has been increased by 300+. Inferno Overdrive. Storm Flight. Lightning Armor. Crimson Lightning Dash. Ding. You have activated Inferno Overdrive. You have entered into a berserk state. All of your stats except for mana have been increased by 70%. Ding. You have activated Storm Flight. Due to the storm, the agility boost from the Storm Flight has been doubled. You have obtained 200 plus agility points. Ding. You have activated the Lightning Armor. Your defense has increased. You have obtained 100 plus strength. Ding. You have activated Crimson Lightning Dash. By consuming 20 plus mana per second, you have obtained 200 plus agility points. Now that Aditya's stats also have increased, his powers have skyrocketed to another level. The current Aditya can defeat the man-eater monster with half effort. Sensing that Aditya's aura getting stronger, Supreme Elder Harris started sweating. While others failed to notice this as they were busy glaring at Aditya and inwardly cursing him. Is 1 billion royal gold coins not enough? Harris gritted his teeth in anger. Even though giving away 1 billion royal gold coins would have crippled the Dragon Slayer Guild, Supreme Elder Harris was still willing to give such a huge amount of money to Aditya so he wouldn't attack them, but it seems even 1 billion royal gold coins may not be enough to make Aditya not attack the guild. It would be most gracious of us if, Your Majesty, if this amount was not sufficient, we could increase the amount. Each month we will give you 50% of our profits for the next 5 years. We will keep doing this until the profits reach our target. Supreme Elder Harris tried to be as humble as possible. For someone like him, it was not easy for him to lower his head, but he was still willing to do it for the sake of protecting his guild. Supreme Elder, have you fucking lost your mind? Giving this bastard 50% of our monthly earnings for 5 years on top of giving him 1 billion royal gold coins. Are you trying to destroy the Dragon Slayer Guild from the inside? Instead of all this bullshit, it would be better if we just attack this bastard and kill him here. I refuse to believe that 6 peak 5th order cultivators cannot kill this bastard. Aaron, another elder, completely lost his mind hearing the words of the Supreme Elder. Supreme Elder Harris, at this moment, was in a very difficult situation. He knew that the other elders were very dissatisfied with him. The other elders would rather face Aditya in battle than give their wealth to Aditya. But these fools fail to understand that even all of us here cannot defeat this monster. Since when did you all become so idiot? Your name is Aaron, I assume. Aditya coldly looked at Aaron. Facing Aditya's gaze, Elder Aaron wasn't the slightest bit afraid. He instead raised his chest high and arrogantly looked at Aditya. That's right. My name is Aaron. Aditya nodded his head before looking at Supreme Elder Harris. Elder Harris, I don't need 1 billion royal gold coins from you. Just tell me the name of the party that asked you to take me down. That would be enough. The Eastern Empire won't harm the Dragon Slayer Guild. Instead, the Eastern Empire will offer protection to this island. Hearing Aditya's words, everyone was confused. But Supreme Elder Harris became really happy. These words sounded more like a dream. It was just too good to be true for Supreme Elder Harris. Your Majesty, you're not lying, are you? Quincy Harris feared that Aditya would change his words after learning the name of their contractor. Aditya shook his head. This emperor doesn't lie. I never break my promise. Aditya replied with a cold smile. Supreme Elder was relieved to hear this. The anger in the other elders' eyes also decreased. But Elder Ellis was still hatefully glaring at Aditya. Around 40 days ago, I was approached by a certain person. He is a very influential person in the western region of the dying Al continent. He is one of the great emperors. He is the emperor of the Shadow Islands Empire. Aditya coldly smiled after learning. As we know, currently Western region is at war with each other. The Shadow Islands and 2 other empires haven't been involved in the war and have been remaining neutral. The 3 emperors made up a plan to eliminate Your Majesty. Once the Dragon Emperor is dead, taking over the entire Eastern Empire would be super easy. Harris didn't need to say more as he knew Aditya has understood everything. With this, our Dragon Slayer Guild won't have to worry about the Eastern Empire anymore. Harris sighed in relief while wiping the sweat from his forehead. This entire time has been very nervous. So it was them all along. I thought the war in the Western region would make those bastard emperors forget about me. I guess I was wrong. This time, I will personally end all of the 7 emperors. I have held back long enough. I was wrong to show them mercy. Aditya made up his mind to end the 7 empires in the Western region. Since they had decided to make the Eastern Empire their enemy, why Aditya should show them mercy? Your Majesty, would you like to come and visit the fallen Dragon Island? Supreme Elder Harris had completely let his guard down now. Since it was well known that Aditya was someone who kept his word, Elder Harris knew that there was no need of being worried about Aditya. Of course. I am going to visit Fallen Dragon Island. But before that, I have something that I would like to do first. Aditya's cold smile. Harris feel something was wrong. His instincts suddenly became sharp. He felt something really bad was going to happen right now. Before anyone could understand what Aditya was about to do. He moved so fast that others it almost felt as if he had teleported right in front of Supreme Elder Harris. Before Harris could even react, Aditya punched Supreme Elder's heart with his full strength. Crack. At that moment, everyone's blood runs cold hearing the loud cracking sound. Everyone widened their eyes in deep horror. From the immense pain, Supreme Elder Harris passed out after coughing out a large mouthful of blood. But before losing consciousness, Harris looked at Aditya as if he was looking at the devil. There were so many things that Harris wanted to say but he couldn't. You bastard. Others became raged seeing this. Destroying the mana heart of a peak 5th order cultivator was worse than being killed. Others angrily charged toward Aditya. Humph. Bunch of ants who call themselves slayers of dragons. You're not worthy. This dragon monarch has a score to settle with the Dragon Slayer Guild. Right now I do not represent the Eastern Empire. I represent all the dragons whose lives that you all have taken since the beginning. This Dragon King is here to take revenge. After saying these words, Aditya stopped suppressing his blood. As Aditya's bloodline was unsuppressed, the aura around him intensified. As dragon slayers, everyone's faces turned pale as they realized that the Eastern Empire had divine-ranked dragon bloodline. Everyone's body began to tremble to look at the dragon monarch. The remaining elders' blood ran cold. Around 6 months ago, a being with divine bloodline was born. At that time, the Dragon Slayer Guild tried its best to find out who that person was. They never thought that this person was Aditya. At this moment, the hundreds of dragons who have been captured alive by the Dragon Slayer Guild. The captured dragons that were put into the underground prison all sensed the presence of a divine dragon. Inside the prison, in a place where hundreds of dragons have been caged for decades, in a dark hell where dragons are regularly tortured. In a place where sunlight cannot reach. A place where thousands of dragons are regularly brutally tortured and killed. A place where hundreds of dragons have been caged. Sensing the aura of a divine dragon, all the dragons opened their eyes and looked at the ceiling. All of them can feel it. Beyond the ceiling, beyond the earth, 1,000 meters above the sky, their savior had finally come. Our king has come. He is here. He is here. All the dragons roared at the same time. Our king is here. All of their bloodlines reacted. At the same time, Aditya let out a loud frightening roar that shook heaven and earth. Aditya's roar was so strong that some 4th order cultivators directly lost their consciousness. Everyone was forced to take a step back from Aditya. His roar was heard even from 100 kilometers away. Inside the dark prison, all the dragons heard Aditya's words. All the dragons opened their eyes. P Alpha D Alpha knew this dragon monarch is here. It's time to rise. Destroy the cage that has been binding you. Kill any obstacles in your path. Do not fear your enemies as your monarch is here. Oh, my dragons, stand up. This dragon monarch is calling you. Do not let these filthy beings hold you down. Now stand up. At that moment, as if something inside all the dragons broke. It was the moment when a miracle happened. A moment that would be remembered till the end of time. The call from the dragon monarch reignited the once lost burning passion of the dragons who have been put into this dark cage for decades now. Brothers and sisters, it's time. Our king is here. Our God is calling us. We cannot disappoint our king. Let's destroy anything that stops us from reaching our monarch. All the dragons once again roared. At the same time, Nathan, who heard Aditya's words, understood that there were dragons who have been imprisoned. Without any hesitation, Nathan rushed towards Maragus Brook City. Everyone dragon is a servant of the dragon monarch. Even if the dragons that were locked inside the prison hadn't seen Aditya or ever heard of the dragon monarch, they still worshipped Aditya like their god. Because to dragons, the dragon monarch was their god and they would never betray their god. Shadow manipulation. A black shadow under Nathan took the shape of hundreds of sharp tentacles. Each tentacle moved as fast as the wind. Before the guards could react in time, the tentacles had already penetrated the guards and had ended their lives. Nathan did not stop there. This was one of those rare times when Nathan didn't need to hold back. He wildly fought without caring about anything. Usually, Nathan fought to end his enemies' lives as quickly as possible, but right now Nathan took his sweet time in torturing his opponents. The leader of the Shadow Guardian did not let anyone escape. Using his shadow manipulation, he created hundreds of shadow tentacles. The shadow tentacles prevented anyone from escaping. If anyone tried to escape, one of the shadow tentacles grabbed that person and hold will down till Nathan personally ended that person's life. P Alpha D. Hundreds of dragons who have now been called by their monarch had awakened a new side in them. Aditya's call has awakened something in these dragons that they never thought existed. This new burning feeling in their heart and in their bloodline. This new burning desire to answer the call of their monarch. This new crimson sentiment of breaking all the shackles. This new blazing passion for destroying everything in their paths. These dragons have never seen sunlight in their lives. Some of them never even knew that there was a giant undiscovered world waiting for them outside of this underground prison. Aditya's call has given the dragons new hope. The monarch call has given the dragons a passion. The dragon king's roar has awakened their bloodline. For the first time in their lives, the dragons felt angry. Bang! Bang! Ah! In one of the prison cells, a giant dragon whose body has been bound with special chains repeatedly hit the bars of the cell with his head trying to break free. He wasn't the only one who was doing this at this moment. All the dragons inside the prison were doing this. At this moment, they wanted to break free. At this moment, they wanted to meet their king. They wanted to meet their dragon monarch. Bang! Bang! Drip! Drip! From repeatedly hitting the metal bars with their head, blood dripped from their head. Bang! Why this thing isn't breaking? The dragon felt his body temperature rising rapidly. Bang! The ball of flame hit the metal bars. The metal bars were instantly melted. Another dragon had just awakened his powers. The Dragon Slayer Guild has developed a special kind of drug. When this drug is used on newborn dragon babies, it prevents the newborn dragon baby from awakening their powers and it also keeps their bodies weak. When the dragon monarch called the dragons with his roar, All the dragons' bloodlines resonated with the call of the Dragon Monarch. At that moment something happened within all the dragons. The call from the Dragon Monarch somehow helped to dispel the effect of the drug on their bloodline and awakened their innate powers. My Dragon Monarch, please wait for this servant. We are coming. Also at the same time, Nathan managed to kill all the guards and make his way to the prison. Scene change. Standing 1500 above the fallen Dragon Island, Aditya held unconscious Supreme Elder Quincy Harris. Aditya did not let go of Quincy Harris after destroying his cultivation. Meanwhile, the members and the elders of the Dragon Slayer Guild recovered. Aditya's sudden earth and heaven-shaking roar had stunned them. After recovering, now all the elders and the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild looked at Aditya in fear. Some of them even wanted to flee from Aditya as soon as possible. But their pride as the Dragon Slayer came in their way. The Dragon Slayers had immense pride. The more dragons a member has killed, the more pride and arrogance that member would have. Dragon Emperor, don't go too far. What you're currently doing is pure bullying. Maybe we can't defeat you today, but one day you will get your retribution. Karma will come for you. Someone else in our place will punish you for doing this to us. Me and bullying you guys? Ha 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 ha. Aditya couldn't help but help out loud. I don't fucking care what you guys have to say. All of you here are delusional. The fact that you consider slaying dragons to be a noble deed is proof that something is definitely wrong with all of your brains. Don't act as if dragons are totally innocent. Dragons use their power to mess with people's lives as they see fit. Aditya coldly looked at the elder who said those words. I admit that not all dragons are good in nature. But, this doesn't mean all of your hands are totally clean. From what I have learned, you guys raise baby innocent dragons in your prison. When those innocent baby dragons mature, you just kill them and sell the dragon's body parts. Who the fuck gave you people the right to raise dragons like livestock? Those poor dragons have never even seen the sun in their entire life. From the moment they are born, they are locked in that cage till their deaths. This is just one of the evil things that you guys do. The entire Dragon Slayer Guild is rotten beyond measure. You guys brainwash children with high potential from a very young age so that you guys can turn those innocent children into your loyal puppets. The members of the Dragon Slayer Guild are not only good at slaying dragons but they are also very well known for bullying the people common. The number of common people's lives that you guys take for the sake of your amusement is too many and don't try to deny this fact. Hearing Aditya's words, many members felt ashamed. They averted their gazes and looked somewhere else. They had nothing that could justify their actions. Aditya, we had to do this for money. The elder who is responsible for counting the profit of the Dragon Elder Guild spoke with a helpless look. Making money by treating dragons like livestock. How would you feel if I did the same to all of you and your children? To the Dragon Monarch, this was unacceptable. How can the King of Dragons let something like this happen to his own kind? Aiden looked at Aditya with a crazy look. Aiden tightly clenched his fists as his eyes turned red. This is the way of our life. This is how the Dragon Slayer Guild works and will work. We are dragon slayers and will exist to slay dragons. Aditya closed his eyes for a second before taking out his adamantite doomblade. Opening his eyes, he stared at the elders and said in an emotionless tone. I am the Dragon Monarch. I am the king of all dragons. As the king, it's my duty to provide protection and also avenge my kind. Suddenly Aditya's aura became very sharp. Everyone took a few steps back in fear. Drops of sweat began rolling down the elders' faces. The rock birds wanted to flee from Aditya. As magic animals, these birds realized how dangerous Aditya was. Don't worry, I am not going to kill the 5 of you. I will destroy your cultivation and then I will take you back to the Eastern Empire capital. There all of you will be held as prisoners. Every dragon that visits the Dragon Palace will get the chance of hitting you all with a throned whip. Aditya took a step forward with a cold smile that sent chills down everyone's spine. I won't let any of you die. I will make my Dragonians heal your bodies with healing pills. I won't let you guys die. Every day, your suffering will continue. This torture will continue till the end of your lifespan. Hearing Aditya's words, all the elders' faces turned deadly pale. Considering the fact that all the elders were peak 5th order cultivators, even if Aditya destroyed their cultivation, they would still live a very long life. This meant that their suffering wouldn't end at least for the next 1,000 or maybe 10,000 years. Just imagining this kind of life, everyone couldn't help but shake like a leaf in fear. Seeing Nathan, the dragons at first thought that he was an enemy. But after sensing his aura, all the dragons let their guards down as they realized this man was a dragon. Not only that, but just by his aura, all the dragons can tell that this man is really powerful and very close to their Dragon Monarch. This also meant that their Dragon Monarch has sent his servant to help them. Nathan looked at the underground dark prison. The air inside the prison was very heavy and very foul. Nathan noticed the entire prison was very unclean. In some corners, he can even see the bones of some dragons. How can someone live in such a place? Nathan wondered. Now he felt even more anger towards the Dragon Slayer Guild. Everyone come with me. I will take you all to our Dragon Monarch. Just as Nathan brought the dragons out of the prison, all the dragons went wild. Anyone that came into their view was instantly killed. It didn't matter if it was a merchant or a guard. Regardless of who it was, all were killed. Nathan and the dragons went on a killing spree. Killing anyone in their sight had become their only goal. It was as if these dragons had turned into mindless bloodthirsty monsters. The word brutality wouldn't be enough to describe what the dragons were doing. It was a one-sided massacre. Before coming here, Nathan already had taken out the strong ones. The ones that remained were the first order cultivators. The dragons were easily able to deal with them. Some dragons even started tearing the humans and other beings like a piece of paper. Soon the whole city of Maragus Brook was dyed in blood. Blood turned the ground of the Maragus Brook city red. Blood had painted the walls of the buildings and the structures. Pieces of dead bodies were lying here and there. Regardless of what it was, whether elder or young, whether woman or male, whether beast or human, all were shown no mercy. Every single being within Maragus Brook city was killed. The lucky ones were the ones who managed to escape the fallen dragon before all this madness started. It's time to die. Aditya still held unconscious Supreme Elder Quincy Harris. Swoosh. Where did he go? I don't know. I can't feel his aura either. Did he spare us? Damn it. I should have just tried to escape while I still had the chance. I should have listened to these fools' words. One of the elders who still hadn't spoken to Aditya and had remained quiet was now regretting his choice. When he saw the crimson lightning in the sky, his first thought was to flee from this island, but the Supreme Elder didn't allow anyone to leave. Not even 3 seconds had passed since Aditya disappeared, and hundreds of bodies started falling from the sky. The elders looked at the scene in trepidation as each second hundreds of bodies started falling from the sky. Using his speed kept slaughtering the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild as if they were cabbage. Ding! You have killed a peak 4th order cultivator. Ding! You have killed a beginner 4th order cultivator. Ding! You have killed a mid 4th order cultivator. While Aditya massacred the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild, the system was flooded with messages. It has been a while since I saw this many messages from the system. A few seconds later, all the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild were dead. But strangely all 1,000 of Rock's magic birds were still alive. If you want to survive, then do not move. You move an inch, I end your life. Now that all the small bugs have been crushed, it's time to deal with the 5 of you. Seeing this, the elders took steps back in fear. Just as Aditya was about to move, a voice stopped him. Young dragon, I would suggest you stop now, please. Aditya put the adamantite doomblade on his shoulder and his eyes looked to his right. Around 500 meters away from Aditya, a handsome middle-aged man was standing in the sky. He had golden hair and white skin. Who are you? Aditya asked. If this man stood in his path, regardless of who this bastard was, I am the Crown Prince of the Echo Nexus Empire. Aditya was surprised to hear this. Now that he paid a closer look at the middle-aged man, on his waist, he was carrying a golden coin. The golden coin had the symbol of the Echo Nexus Empire. It was a symbol of a lion holding a sword. Crown Prince of the Echo Nexus Empire, I will ask you once, are you here to stop me from destroying the Dragon Slayer Guild? The Eastern Empire is called the Graveyard of Empires. The Crown Prince of the Echo Nexus Empire certainly didn't like Aditya's tone. Other than his father, no one has dared to speak to him in such a tone. Lewis didn't lose his calm. He took his favorite weapon, which was a black spear. Holding the black spear, Lewis made his stance clear. So this is your answer. Aditya, I hope you can understand that the Echo Nexus Empire is a long-term friend of the Dragon Slayer Guild. Hearing Lewis's words, Aditya had now lost his mind in anger. Aditya completely released his killing intent on Lewis. Instead of the elders, he now focused completely on Lewis. Who the fuck gave you the courage to speak to me in such a tone? Who the hell do you think you're? When you were busy conquering girls at my age, I was busy conquering empires. Bastard, you might be older than me, but it doesn't mean you can just stand in front of my face and disrespect this monarch. Not even your daddy would dare to do something like this. Lewis's face turned pale from Aditya's killing intent. Lewis felt very heavy. He was having difficulty even lifting his body. Aditya, if you, dare what? Bitch, I will deal with the Echo Nexus Empire. This monarch isn't afraid. If your empire wants to fight, then let's fight. I am not going to tolerate being disrespected by someone like you. Bang. Ah. The Crown Prince let out a loud powerful scream. His scream reached the fallen dragon island. Lewis coughed out a large mouthful of blood before losing consciousness. No way. He just destroyed the Crown Prince's cultivation. Aditya threw the bodies of the Supreme Elder and Crown Prince Lewis to one of the rock birds. The rock bird grabbed both of them and then looked at Aditya in confusion. Keep them with you for now. Aditya then turned towards the elder. It's time to pay. Some time later, Aditya landed in front of hundreds of dragons. Behind Aditya, thousands of rock birds obediently landed on the ground. The unconscious bodies of the elders and Prince Lewis were being carried by 2 rock birds. Just as Aditya landed on the ground, Nathan got on one knee and then lowered his head. Following Nathan, all the dragons did the same. They also got on their knees and lowered their heads. Their eyes were full of respect and admiration for their monarch. You all may rise. Aditya looked at the conditions of the dragons. He can see the chain marks on the bodies of the dragons. Seeing this, Aditya knew in his heart that he had done the right thing. Some of the dragons here were only around 10 or 11 years old. Since birth, these small dragons have been caged in that dark underground prison and have been tortured who knows how many times. Your Majesty, who is he? This is Prince Lewis. He is the Crown Prince of the Echo Nexus Empire. Looking at the unconscious body of Crown Prince Lewis, Aditya mockingly said. He wanted me to stop. So I took care of him as well. Nathan, how is everything? Aditya asked as he spread his senses throughout the entire fallen dragon island. Everyone from the Dragon Slayer Guild is dead. Not even a single member was allowed to escape. Nathan answered. Good job. When I go back to the Eastern Empire, I will reward you for your hard work. Nathan was one of those people whom Aditya can always trust. Nathan has never failed to meet Aditya's expectations. Regardless of the difficulty of the task, Nathan has always managed to complete it on time. Your Majesty, your praise is more than enough for this servant. By the way, congratulations on making an advancement in your cultivation. It's not a big deal. I had a fortune counter that increased by cultivation. With a few more days or maybe a week of cultivation, should be ready to reach beginner 4th order. Nathan nodded his head. The respect and admiration that Nathan had for Aditya only increased. Seeing this, Aditya sighed. If only you knew that I can reach peak 5th order at any time. The system is my cheat. Because of the system, everyone is assuming Aditya to be some heaven-defying genius. Your Majesty, I have cleaned the treasury. Every valuable thing within Maragus Brook City has been put inside this storage ring. If my calculations are correct, then all the assets inside this ring are worth over 5 billion royal gold coins. Hearing this, Aditya widened his eyes in surprise. That was too much money. Even the Eastern Empire can hardly take out 1 billion royal gold coins, much less 5 billion. Aditya took the storage ring from Nathan and then wore it on his left-hand thumb finger. Your Majesty, it's a matter of time before the Echo Nexus Empire learns what has happened here. The Echo Nexus Empire is definitely going to wage war against the Eastern Empire. I know, Nathan. Let them come. I am not afraid. I will personally lead the Eastern troops against the Echo Nexus Empire. Who dare to stand in my path will be crushed. This monarch isn't going to hold back now. Aditya was fully ready to go against the Echo Nexus Empire. If it was the Eastern Empire of the past, then Aditya might have hesitated, but now he wasn't the least bit afraid. Aditya can easily deal with any peak 5th order cultivators. Even if there were 100 of peak 5th order cultivators, Aditya can deal with them alone. This was the confidence of the Dragon Monarch. Leaving that matter aside, there is something else I am going to focus on. Nathan and the dragons continued to listen to their Dragon Monarch's words. I thought the war in the western region would prevent the great 7 emperors from uniting. I thought the war would them those old fools busy among themselves. But it seems I was wrong. 3 of the neutral empires had given the Dragon Slayer Guild the task of ending my life. The reason why the Dragon Slayer Guild dared to send its members to the Eastern Empire is that they had the backing of those 3 empires. Those old fools thought that as long as I was dead, they can deal with the Eastern Empire. Nathan, we will attack the Shadow Islands Empire tonight. There were 2 reasons why Aditya was hurrying. The first reason was related to Crown Prince Louis. It was confirmed that the Echo Nexus Empire will attack the Eastern Empire. Before the Echo Nexus Empire digested the news and came for battle, Aditya wanted to destroy his enemies in the western regions. The 3 empires must be eliminated, otherwise there is a huge chance that those old fools will join hands with the Echo Nexus Empire. When that happens, Aditya will have a headache fighting the forces of 4 empires, also not to mention the allies of the Echo Nexus Empire. If Aditya allows his enemies to join hands and attack his empire, even if he wins the war, the casualties will be too big for the Eastern Empire. The second reason had something to do with Laura. Since 10 days later, the competition for the throne will begin in the Deep Sea Palace, Aditya's presence was required there. He had given Laura his word that he was going to be there. Consequently, Aditya wanted to eliminate the 3 great empires in the western region as soon as possible. Understood, Your Majesty. From now on, you will live with the Dragon Emperor in the Dragon Palace. Take this. This will officially mark you all as my followers. The next second, each drop of golden blood fell on the body of each dragon except Nathan. All the dragons' bodies started shining in deep crimson color. Nathan walked behind Aditya and looked at the scene. Aditya's blood started purifying the blood of the dragons. Their bloodline rank was upgraded. When the intense deep crimson light dimmed down, all the dragons had transformed into dragon soldiers who will serve and die for the Dragon Monarch. All of the dragons' appearances also changed. Their scales now had been replaced with even tougher and more majestic scales. Their heights also grew. Some of the dragons directly reached peak 2nd order cultivation rank, while most of the dragons managed to reach peak 1st order and beginner 2nd order respectively. How do you all feel? Aditya asked with a smile. Instead of replying, all the dragons got to their knees and lowered their heads. We are eternal servants of the Dragon Monarch. We live to serve our monarch. We die for our monarch's cause. We serve no master other than our Dragon King. We lower our heads to no being other than our Dragon Monarch. We are the Dragon Soldiers. Aditya nodded his head with a satisfied look. But the smile on Aditya's face disappeared and was replaced with a surprised look as he suddenly sensed 190 dragons heading in the direction of this island. The dragons were coming in the direction of this island from all directions. A while back, when the dragons heard the roar of their monarch, they couldn't resist the urge of heading in the direction of the fallen Dragon Island. As far as Aditya's roar reached, as long as the dragons heard the call of their monarch, they would answer their monarch's call. Now 190 wild dragons were heading in this direction to answer the call of their monarch. Nathan got on his guard sensing all the presence, but he soon calmed down after learning that all the presence was dragons. The dragons must be heading here to answer His Majesty's call. Soon 190 dragons landed on fallen Dragon Island. Aditya noticed that a big majority of these dragons were water dragons that lived under the seawater. This meant the Dragon Slayer Guild couldn't hunt these dragons. The water dragon scales were a deep blue. Their pupils are light blue in color. They had white claws. Even the smallest water dragon was 12 meters big. There were also some water wyverns within the group. Greetings to the Dragon Monarch. All the dragons lowered their heads and greeted their king. Do you all want to come with me? Aditya asked. Your Majesty, you would love to come with you. We dragons are eternal servants of the Dragon Monarch. All right. Aditya gave a drop of his divine blood to all the dragons and wyverns. As a result, their bodies evolved. The water wyverns evolved to become real water dragons. While the water dragon's bloodline was further purified and their strength and their control over water elements increased. Nathan, use the teleportation array to take everyone back home. For now, let everyone stay inside the dragon palace. Also, don't give any healing pills to these bastards. For now, put them in the prison. Nathan nodded his head. What about you, your majesty? Nathan asked in confusion. Aditya looked beyond Maragus Brook City and said in a deep tone. This island has left a bad taste in my mouth. I am going to destroy this entire island and then leave. Since there aren't any more teleportation arrays nearby, I will need to head to the mainland of the West Nia continent, which will take a few hours. Alright. Everyone come with me. All the dragons listened to Nathan since they can see that Nathan was their monarch's general or someone like a general. This put Nathan in a higher position than the dragons. After Nathan left with the dragons, the rock birds, and his prisoners, Aditya flew 1,000 meters above the sky. Now how should I destroy this island? Aditya wondered. He can use crimson lightning to destroy everything. Or he can use crimson blaze to turn everything to ashes. Or Aditya can just drown the entire island in magma. The last option sounds better. Magma manipulation. The Dragon Emperor's face turned slightly pale as, 4,000 plus, mana was consumed when he decided to use magma manipulation on such a large scale. The next moment, from different varieties of the fallen dragon island, crimson blazing magma rose from the ground. Breaking the ground, magma continued to drown the entire fallen dragon island. Around 5 minutes later, in front of Aditya, the entire fallen dragon island was covered in magma. The magma consumed everything in it. All the structures, buildings, plants, trees, bugs, birds, magic animals, and everything that was ever built on the island, or everything that existed on the island, was consumed by the magma. Crack. Aditya coldly watched as the fallen dragon island, the base of the Dragon Slayer Guild, started to sink beneath the seawater. After around 10 minutes, the entire dragon island was no more. The entire island was under seawater. Aditya had completely destroyed the Dragon Slayer Guild. He did not leave anything for anyone. There may be a few members of the Dragon Slayer Guild who were away during the time Aditya came here, and so as a result they managed to get free from Aditya's grasp, but they will never be able to return after today. With this, the chapter of the Dragon Slayer Guild is over. Aditya did not waste any time here anymore. This place had no value. The magma had consumed all the corpses. Aditya buried the members of the Dragon Slayer Guild along with their base. In the future, no one would be able to find any traces of the Dragon Slayer Guild. Only their names would be known to the people. And whenever the people will speak of the Dragon Slayer Guild, they will also remember the Istaran Empire and the Istaran Emperor. Aditya started heading towards the mainland of the West Nia continent. But a few seconds later he stopped. Wait, how did I forget about the teleportation function of the Dragon Palace? I can just teleport back to the Dragon Palace. Without wasting a single second, Aditya teleported back to the Istaran Empire. He directly teleported to his bedroom. Now let's check on my stats. It has been a while since I checked my stats. Name, Aditya Baineth. Race, Dragon. Bloodline, Divine Crimson Storm Dragon. Title, Dragon Monarch. Class, War Dancer, Rune Monarch, Storm Marshal. Level, 201 300. Innate Skill, Instant Learning and Adaptation, Crimson Blaze, Weapon Grandmaster, Runic Enchantment, Dragon Transformation, Dragon Roar, Crimson Lightning Manipulation, Dragon Monarch Blessing, Storm Summoner, Magma Manipulation. Passive Skill, Crimson Lightning Blink, Mental Defense, Inferno Overdrive, Soul Blaze, Fiery Eyes, Curse of the Heaven, Blessing of Crimson, Charm of Plasma, Crimson Lightning Dash, Enraged Lightning Spell, Lightning Armor, Storm Flight, Acid Rain Dragon Transfer, New Skill, Dragon Monarch's Domain, New Skill. Artifact, Bracelet of Wind Fairy, Crown of 7 Sea. Strength, 411 510. Speed, 753 plus, 100, 852 plus, 100. Stamina, 386 485. Health, 386 485. Mana, 4052 4151. Free stats, 0198. If I add 198 stats points to my agility, my speed will reach 1000. But focusing too much on my agility is not good either. I also have to focus on raising my health and stamina. The higher my stamina was, the faster my body would heal. Stamina is like fuel that is needed to keep the body going. One of my biggest drawbacks is that I ran out of stamina very quickly. When Aditya activates all of his stats boosting skills, each second along with his mana, his stamina was also being consumed. This is why sometimes Aditya becomes unconscious after a big fight. The higher my health was, the faster my stamina and my mana would recover. So raising these two stats is very important, otherwise this issue will become a big problem in the future. In the future, Aditya's stats will become unbalanced, and when that happens, he won't have any way of reversing it. System, divide my free stats points and distribute them equally to my health and stamina. Ding. 99 plus points have been distributed to your health. Ding. 99 plus points have been distributed to your stamina. Name, Aditya Baineth. Underscore race, dragon. Underscore bloodline, divine crimson storm dragon. Underscore title, dragon monarch please visit. Underscore class, war dancer, rune monarch, storm marshal. Underscore level, 201 300. Underscore innate skill, instant learning and adaptation, crimson blaze, weapon grandmaster, runic enchantment, dragon transformation, dragon roar, crimson lightning manipulation, dragon monarch blessing, storm summoner, magma manipulation. Underscore passive skill, crimson lightning blink, mental defense, inferno overdrive, soul blaze, fiery eyes, curse of the heaven, blessing of crimson, charm of plasma, crimson lightning dash, enraged lightning spell, lightning armor, storm flight, acid rain, dragon transfer, dragon monarch's domain. Underscore artifact, bracelet of wind fairy, crown of 7 sea. Underscore strength, 510. Underscore speed, 852 plus, 100. Underscore stamina, 485 584. Underscore health, 485 584. Underscore mana, 4151. Underscore free stats, 198 0. Dragon transfer. 3RD order passive skill. Description, a special passive that the host has learned when the Dragon Palace was made. Only the Dragon Monarch possesses this passive skill. Function, using this skill, the Dragon Monarch can switch places with any of your blood vessels, Dragonine and Dragon soldiers, at any given second. This skill doesn't require any mana to use. The number of times that this skill can be used is unlimited and there is no cooldown time for this skill. This is one of the skills that I obtained when the Dragon Palace was built. Now that I think about it, I haven't used this skill. Later I must try out this skill. This skill has the potential to become one of my best and strongest passive skills. Especially during times of war, Aditya would be able to switch places. He would be able to go to multiple battlefields. This is the skill that I used to defeat the man-eater monster. Dragon Monarch's domain. 3RD order passive skill. Description, the Dragon Monarch's domain is a berserk category passive skill that the host learned when the Dragon Palace was created. When this skill is activated, the host's entire body will glow in deep crimson. The temperature of the host's body will continue to increase rapidly. The host's body will become hot as magma. The sky will become chaotic. Within 10 kilometers, violent crimson lightning bolts will rain from the sky. The temperature of the 10 kilometers of land around the host will continue to rise. Function 1, when this skill is used, for the next 5 seconds, all of the host stats except for mana will be tripled for a duration of 5 seconds. When the skill is activated, the host will be able to teleport anywhere within 10 meters of range. After 5 seconds, all of the host's mana will be consumed. The host will fall into an unconscious state. Aditya couldn't help but recall his fight with the man-eater monster. That fight was one of the toughest fights that Aditya has ever fought. Aditya nearly died in that battle. He would have died if Adam hadn't come in time to save him. This skill is too overpowered. Unfortunately, after using these skills not only all of my mana will be exhausted, but I will also be left unconscious for who knows how long. Aditya put his hand on the left side of his chest. He closed his eyes while feeling the beat of his heartbeat. It's a miracle that I managed to live. If not for the black I probably would have died right there. Strangely he did not feel any fear. All he felt was regret. He regretted not living a long life with his wives. He regretted many other things. Click. Julia was also surprised to see Aditya in the bedroom. She gave him a gentle smile before asking him. I thought you went out. I am done with my work. Wife, I have something to tell you. What is it? Aditya did not speak. He just leaned on her right shoulder and then closed his eyes. There is going to be another war soon. I also have found the enemies of the Eastern Empire. Before they could strike, I am going to attack them. So tonight, I won't be able to come home. Hearing this, Julia was a little disappointed, but she did not show it to Aditya. Is it going to be a difficult fight? As long as everything goes according to my plan, then nothing will be difficult. Aditya planted a kiss on Julia's forehead before pulling her into his embrace. When I am away, be a good girl. If you behave well, then I will work extra hard to reward you during our night sessions. He gently whispered these words into her ears. Julia pouted upon hearing his first sentence. But the last part of his words made her blush. The Shadow Islands Empire. The empire is located at the very west of the western region. The Shadow Island Empire was built upon 9 big islands. Each island is about 2 times bigger than the capital city of the Eastern Empire, the Azure City. The word shadow came from the thunderclouds that hover above the 9 islands of the empire. Thunderclouds would prevent the light of sunlight from ever reaching the Shadow Islands. Only during the month of December do the Shadow Islands find some sunlight. Storm clouds are covering the sky of the Shadow Islands 11 months throughout the year, but it very rarely rains on the islands even though they are covered in thunderclouds. There were about 5.8 million people who lived in the Shadow Islands Empire. Out of the 5.8 million population, about 3 million of them were humans. There were around 1.1 million beast race people who lived throughout the Shadow Islands Empire. The remaining 1.7 million population were vampires, succubus, werewolves, and fallen angels. The Shadow Islands Empire was the only empire in the Dying Null continent to have such a high number of demon race people. There is a reason why the demon race people's population was 1.7 million. And this reason has connected to the thunderclouds that blocked the sunlight for almost 11 months throughout the year. A certain special kind of herb grew in the 9 Shadow Islands. This herb cannot grow in the presence of sunlight and in places where the temperature reaches above 20 degrees Celsius. When this herb reaches maturity, the pills created using this herb can help the demon race people in increasing their cultivation speed. It takes around 6 to 9 months for this herb to grow and reach maturity. Only demon race people can benefit from this herb. Whether it was succubus or incubus or fallen angel or werewolves, all demon race people desired this herb. To them, this herb was as precious as gold. The name of this miraculous herb was Thunder Bay Leaf. And the Shadow Islands Empire was one of those only few places in the whole world where the Thunder Bay Leaf grows. The people of the Shadow Islands Empire even call the Thunder Bay Leaf their green gold. One reason is that the Thunder Bay Leaf is considered very precious and is exported to many other parts. The fact that the Shadow Island Empire is the only place within the entire Dying Isle continent where green gold, which is the Thunder Bay Leaf, grows, makes it very valuable. The great emperor and the royal family of the Shadow Islands Empire built their enormous wealth just by selling green gold to foreign empires and continents. The Shadow Islands Empire knows the value of the Thunder Bay Leaf, and which is why more than 10,000 soldiers are dispatched to guard the Thunder Bay Leaf fields. The emperor does not share any profits that he earns from selling the Thunder Bay Leaf with his 8 dukes, even though around 80% of the entire Thunder Bay Leaf herbs are grown in the dukes' territories. When the Thunder Bay Leaf herb matures, the emperor just takes the green gold from the dukes without giving them any penny. If the 8 dukes were allowed to sell the Thunder Bay Leaf herb on their own, most of the profits to go directly into their pockets and would make the dukes even more powerful. If the duke of an empire becomes too much powerful, then there is a chance that the duke might revolt against the royal family and overthrow the emperor. This isn't something that the Shadow Islands emperor and his royal family wanted to see happening. This is why the dukes were never given the right to sell green gold on their own. Around 90% of the Shadow Island Empire's yearly revenue is generated from exporting Thunder Bay Leaf herb. Despite being an empire that is made up of 9 big islands, the Shadow Islands Empire was able to become of the 7 great empires in the western region with the wealth that the emperor gained from exporting green gold. The territory of the Shadow Island Empires is made up of 9 big islands. Every 9 islands are twice or maybe even bigger than the current size of the Eastern Empire's capital, the Azure City. Ashkur Island is the main and center island. Ashkur Island is located at the center of the empire. The Ashkur Island alone produces 20% of all Thunder Bay Leaf herb of the Shadow Islands Empire. The city of Zion is the capital city of the Shadow Islands Empire. Aside from that, Ashkur Island is also the place where the emperor of the Shadow Islands Empire lives with his family. While the other 8 Shadow Islands are governed by dukes, the royal family directly controlled Ashkur Island. Among the 9 Shadow Islands, the Ashkur Island is the richest and also the most prosperous Shadow Island within the empire. Around 1.9 million people of various races live on this island. When the Shadow Islands Empire was formed, the emperor had appointed 8 noble families to look after the 8 islands. The head of each noble family is the duke, who is responsible for governing one of the 8 Shadow Islands. The names of the 8 islands are 1. Summermond Island. 2. The Enchanted Home. 3. Vidon Island, please visit. 4. Stoneminster Home. 5. The Starfish Island. 6. The Pearl Chain. 7. Brisberg Island. 8. Langboya Islands. Every 8 islands are special for something. For example, the Langboya is not just one big island. The Langboya Islands are hundreds of small islands located very close to each other. The Brisberg Island is the second largest Shadow Islands. The Enchanted Home is the biggest among the Shadow Islands. The size of the Enchanted Home is around almost 5 times the size of the Azure City. As the darkness of the night consumed the entire Shadow Islands Empire, the Dragon Monarch arrived within the capital of the Shadow Islands Empire. As Aditya stepped out of the teleportation array, the Guild Master of the Zion City stepped forward. The Dark Elf offered a bow to the Eastern Empire. "Welcome to the city of Zion, Your Majesty." Having the Goddess of Wealth as an ally was one of Aditya's biggest strengths and also advantages. Since Alicia had managed to open branches of her Seekers of Impurity Guild all over the Dying Isle continent, it had become very easy for Aditya or anyone from Shadow Guardian Division to infiltrate an empire or a kingdom. Each branch of the Seekers of Impurity Guild is connected to each other through the teleportation circle. Tap. 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 Aditya walked up to the Dark Elf man, who is the Guild Master of Zion City. Aditya patted the Dark Elf's right shoulder. "Thank you for providing all the information in such short notice." After returning to the Dragon Palace, Aditya started making plans on destroying the Shadow Islands Empire. "I don't need to destroy the entire empire. I just need to remove the royal family and the emperor." Before tonight, Aditya didn't know much about the Shadow Islands empires. He thought the Shadow Islands Empire to be another ordinary island empire. But from the information that he received through Alicia and the information that the Shadow Guardian Division had managed to gather, Aditya now had become interested in conquering the Shadow Islands Empire. Aditya was especially attracted to the Thunder Bay Leaf herb. The political structure of the Shadow Islands Empire wasn't that strong. It was the emperor who held the 8 dukes together. If not for the emperor, by now the 8 dukes would have fought each other in multiple bloody wars. From experience, Aditya knew that these kinds of empires are really easy to conquer. There won't be any protest from the people even if Aditya removes the emperor and the royal family and takes the whole empire under the Eastern Empire. Aditya could have invaded the Shadow Islands with millions of his troops and the Dragonians, but that would attract too much attention and would alert the other two Western Island empires. The aim was to conquer the Shadow Islands Empire as soon as possible and then go to the other two empires. He wanted to do this before the Echo Nexus Empires declares war on the Eastern Empire. This humble servant isn't worthy of your praise. I haven't done much. I merely provided the information that I already had gathered. The Dark Elf man knew the relationship between the guild leader and the Eastern Emperor. Although he wasn't 100% sure, he has been hearing some rumors about the guild leader being the Eastern Emperor's fiancé. Aditya nodded his head. This is my first time coming here. I want to walk around Zion City. Really, thank you very much to all those on Ashkur Island. Before Aditya came to the Shadow Islands Empire, Nathan, Amber, Josh, and Scott had already arrived in Zion City an hour ago. The four generals of the Eastern Empire were being an important task. Failure wasn't an option for them. If they failed, the enemy will be alerted and their chances of quickly conquering the Shadow Islands Empire won't be successful. The reason Aditya sent Josh, Scott, Nathan, and Amber for this mission was because of their abilities. Nathan was an assassin. This meant that he was an expert in hiding. By using his shadow manipulation, he can secretly move around Ashkur Island without making anyone suspicious. Amber was an expert in illusion. She was the best illusion magic user that the Eastern Empire currently had. With her magic cultivation reaching beginner 4th order, she now can use her illusion to hide from anyone except for 5th order cultivators. Scott, the Dark Elf, was an expert in using a bow and arrow. Scott was blessed with powerful sight. He can see up to 5 kilometers even during the night time. During day-night, Scott spot enemies even from 10 kilometers away. After regaining his cultivation, his arrow shooting powers only increased. Scott was undoubtedly the best archer that the Eastern Empire had. Scott can shoot arrows from many kilometers away. This made Scott perfect for this mission. Aside from his amazing vision in archery, Scott was a beginner 4th order cultivator. He was powerful enough to take down any mid-4th order in a fight. And lastly, Josh. Josh is a beast race. The Lion Tribe man had the power to tear a peak 3rd order cultivator with his bare hands. Aditya's divine bloodline has turned Josh into half-dragon. This has turned the captain of the 4th division even more powerful. Josh has managed to reach beginner 4th order. Except for Amber, who had a Royal Fox Queen bloodline, the other 6 generals were Dragonians. Not only that, but also the generals were allowed to live and cultivate inside the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace increased the cultivation speed of all dragons, especially those who had Aditya's divine bloodline in them received maximum benefits. Also adding, all the cultivation pills that Julia has been making for them, it's no wonder that within such a short period of time, all of the generals managed to become this strong. Normally it takes years for even a genius to reach peak 3rd order beginner 4th order. For some kingdoms, it takes from 10 to even 30 years to produce a peak 3rd order or beginner 4th order general. But the Eastern Empire was able to do it within less than a year. While walking on the streets of Zion City, Aditya was completely relaxed. He was sure that his generals wouldn't fail. Scene change ___. At the center of Zion City, there was a huge castle. From the castle, one can see the ends of Zion City. The castle was the biggest man-made structure of the Shadow Islands Empire. The royal family and the emperor of the Shadow Islands Empire lived in that castle. More than 1,000 soldiers guarded the castle. The emperor was a cautious man. So he built another wall within Zion City. The walls were 15 meters tall and very strong. The walls were made around the 5 kilometers radius of the castle. The walls were made up to prevent anyone from getting near the castle. Within the walls, all the houses that were built around the castle belonged to the emperor. These houses were given to the royal officials, to the high-ranked soldiers, and to the nobles. Only someone with high political power can live here. Around 2 elite soldiers guarded the walls. The elite soldiers didn't let anyone without the emperor's order get inside the wall. Those who try to enter without permission will be killed. Even if that person happens to be the emperor's own son. No mercy will be shown. Overall, the security around the entire island was very strict. This is the reason why Aditya chose to send Scott, Amber, Josh, and Nathan for this mission. Aditya could have just openly attacked the emperor, but that would expose him. The plan was to end the emperor's life as quietly as possible. Also, there is a chance that the emperor might use the teleportation array to escape if Aditya openly attacks. Within the royal castle of the Shadow Islands Empire, the emperor was standing in front of a window and looking at Zion City. Whenever he looked at the Zion City, the emperor's heart was filled with endless pride, arrogance, and satisfaction. This city signified just how far he has come in his life. This city was a symbol that showed just how much Liam George has accomplished in his long reign as the emperor of the Shadow Islands Empire. Sip. Liam took a sip of the red wine as he stared at Zion City. Every night the emperor would spend at least an hour watching Zion City from his bedroom's window. Oh dear father, I hope you're watching me from heavens. Before you died you said that I am not fit to be the king. Father, you should look at the current Shadow Islands Empire. I am the greatest emperor that the Shadow Islands Empire had. Under my rule, the emperor has expanded in all directions. The economy of the empire increased by 3 times. I suppressed any noble that would dare to question me. The voice of the emperor was filled with endless pride and arrogance. Liam George is the second son of Lux George. Around 141 years back, Lux George wanted his first son Luke to become his successor. Liam was considered the most worthless prince. When Liam was young, unlike his brother Luke who was kind, hardworking, and a genius in cultivation, Liam spent all of his time lusting after women. Liam slept with every beautiful woman in his sight. Unlike his big brother, Liam was lazy, arrogant, and had an average cultivation talent. As more time passed, Lux became more displeased with Liam. At that time, the Shadow Islands as known as a kingdom, not an empire. It hadn't gained its status as an emperor yet. Before Luke could become the king, Liam killed his big brother. Liam did not stop there. He killed his father and mother. The people who were very close to his father and his big brother all were massacred within a single night. Liam did not let even the children escape. He killed them all. Before Lux died, he said that Liam wasn't fit to become the king. Since then, Liam has been working to prove his father wrong. Liam killed all the nobles who opposed him. At that time the entire Shadow Islands kingdom was in chaos. Over the years, using various underhanded means, Liam has managed to grow this empire. I have been ruling this empire for over 141 years now. You said that I was a failure. Now look at me, do I look like a failure to you, father? I have everything that I ever wanted. With each passing day and minute, I can feel my ambition keep expanding like this universe. Before I was satisfied with being the king, but now I want to become the ruler of the entire western region. Liam had everything that he wanted. He had power, wealth, and women. Liam was enjoying every moment of his life. But somewhere while enjoying his life, Liam's attention came to the southern region of the dying Al continent. It was one particular empire that had caught his attention. And that empire was the Eastern Empire. That Liam was interested in the Mana Stone mines. If Liam is able to get all the Mana Stone mines in the southern region, then he would be able to control the prices and the supply of Mana Stones within the entire dying Al continent. When that happens, no one would be able to stop Liam from taking the Shadow Islands Empire to become the most powerful empire within the dying Al continent. I would need to think of another plan to end the Dragon Emperor's life. This guy has become a big obstacle in my path. As long as Aditya was dead, Liam can join hands with some other empires and take control of the entire Eastern Empire. Little did Liam know how naively he was thinking. Unlike other empires that like to show off their military strength to spread terror and threaten other kingdoms or empires, the Eastern Empire has never truly shown what it's capable of. I was thinking that the Dragon Slayer Guild would be able to do the task of killing Aditya. It seems I was wrong. I wasted my money. The very glass that Liam was currently using was made by the Eastern Empire. But he had no idea of it. This is because Aditya had left the distribution and supply of glass to the goddess of wealth. Alicia sold glass in a way that no empire was able to find where or how glass was made. Nobles are attracted to fancy things. Noble women are attracted to sparkling things. When glass came to replace crystal in the market, it instantly became a hit within all 6 continents. Alicia had to work extra hard to make sure glass was available on all 6 continents. As for selling glass in the main continent, even though some merchants approached Alicia with offers, she politely rejected their offers. While Liam was imagining himself becoming the emperor of the entire dying Al continent, something big happened within Ashkur Island. On 4 corners of Ashkur Island, for 1 meter big cubes were glowing in bright white light. There is an enemy attack, shouted one of the beginner 5th order generals. In the next second, the 4 cubes rose in the air. What is that? Liam widened his eyes seeing a glowing object in the distance. The next second, under his eyes, a light blue barrier started forming around the entire Ashkur Island. It's an enemy attack. The panic grew over the entire Ashkur Island. No one knew what was happening. A few seconds later, a light blue transparent barrier had formed around the entire island. At this moment, not even a peak 4th order cultivator would be able to exit or enter the island. Only a 5th order cultivator can break the barrier. But Aditya wasn't going to let that happen. Bang! Your Majesty, it appears we are under attack. 3 beginner 5th order cultivators entered Liam's bedroom. Liam did not panic. He looked at the light blue barrier and just smiled. I wonder who is foolish enough to attack Ashkur Island. Don't they know that Ashkur Island is the base of the Shadow Islands? Can you guys break this barrier? Just one of us would be able to break this barrier. Your Majesty, do you want us to break the barrier? There is no need for that. I want to see the faces of attackers. It doesn't really matter if you kill them or capture them. Understood. The 3 generals soon vanished from Liam's bedroom. Did you feel as well? Yes, I felt the mana wave. I have a bad feeling about this. Aditya watched as the people of Zion City started panicking seeing the barrier forming over the entire island. Oh my god, what is happening? Everyone, there is no need to panic. I am sure this is just some defensive barrier built by His Majesty to increase the security of this island. One of the men tried to calm everyone. But the man himself looked unsure of his words. How can you be so sure? What if this barrier was built to trap everyone within this island? Don't talk nonsense, there is no way that an enemy would dare to build a barrier around the entire island. Aditya could see some minor groups of people placing their hopes on the emperor while most just panicked. The guards in response closed down the gates of the city. No one was allowed to enter or leave the town till things calmed down. I guess it's time to finish the job. Quickly activate the defensive array. Now activate the second defensive array. Swoosh. A second transparent dome-like barrier formed, covering everything within the second wall. At the same time, hundreds of troops rushed out of the training ground and the camps. Some of the troops joined others in guarding the second wall while the other troops went to guard the first wall. Everyone load the magic cannons. Get ready to fire on my order. Magic archers, take your position. Everyone was very tense. Leon stood along the magic archers on the second wall and calmly observed the whole situation. 30 seconds later, a displeased look appeared on Leon's face. Leon angrily looked back and shouted. "Where are the necromancers that I asked for?" Leon angrily asked. The vice captain of the guards stepped out of the crowd. "Reporting, Captain, we have a big problem on our hands." Unlike Leon, the vice captain and all other guards were wearing full body armor. Leon had worn battle armor. But he did not wear his helmet. Leon wasn't a bit happy hearing this. "What problem?" "Captain, the teleportation array is not working for some reason." The vice captain looked a little bit afraid of the reaction that Captain Leon was going to show hearing this. Although elves are known to be calm and gentle by nature, Leon is someone who is totally the opposite of this. The previous vice captain was killed by Leon when the vice captain made a small mistake which angered Leon. "What? The teleportation array was working fine a few minutes ago. If there is any problem, then change the mana stones. The teleportation array must not be working because the mana stones have run out of energy." Sigh. This is the most basic thing. Why did you not change the— "Captain, I apologize for interrupting you, but we already have tried it." "What?" "Captain, even after we changed the mana stones we couldn't use the teleportation array at all. No matter how much we tried, the teleportation array is not even activating." Leon was at a loss. He didn't know what to do in such a situation. The reason Leon called for the necromancers is that their ability to turn dead into undead would really help them if in case the enemy managed to break the first wall and attacks the second wall. However, Leon was the captain of all the guards. He had around 5,000 troops under his command. He quickly calmed himself and thought of a different solution. "Send someone to call the necromancers. As for the issue with the teleportation array, I feel that somehow accidentally one of the rune circles was damaged which prevented the array from working. There is nothing wrong with the teleportation array." The woman had tan skin and neck-length black hair. She had a muscular built body. "General." Leon and the other soldiers all saluted the general. Melissa ignored everyone and looked in a certain direction. It seems the mana wave from earlier is somehow stopping the teleportation arrays from working. This means that at this moment no one can enter or exit this island. Normally the soldiers would use the teleportation arrays to reach the first wall, but now that the teleportation arrays were not working, they had no choice but to run there on their feet, which would take 5 to 10 minutes depending upon the soldiers' speed. As the entire Zion city population lived between the first and second walls. Hearing this, both Leon and his vice captain were shocked. What kind of power did the enemy have to prevent the teleportation arrays from working? Seeing the soldiers looking worried, Melissa smirked while placing the black spear on her shoulder. "There is no need to be so worried. Just stay here and defend the second wall. I will deal with the enemy. I am here." Suddenly the air around the walls became dense. All the soldiers for some reason felt choked. Even Captain Leon wasn't spared. Leon and others felt suffocated. Melissa widened her eyes, sensing a diffier behind her. The Amazonian was shocked by the fact that someone managed to appear behind her without her noticing. Even most peak 5th order cultivators can't sneak up on Melissa, much less lower order cultivators. She quickly turned around and faced a diffier. "Who are you?" Melissa took a moment to observe the enemy. The enemy's entire body was covered in crimson lightning. His entire face was hidden under a mask. He had dark blue hair. He had a black powerful sword in his grasp. The sword seems to vibrate with his mana and release powerful killing intent, though the general appeared to be calm and confident. But in deep the Amazonian wasn't calm. Normally Melissa would welcome challenges and make her excited when facing tough opponents, but this time, when she stood in front of this man whose face was hidden under a mask, Melissa felt fear. She felt nervous. She felt hesitant. For the first time in her life, the general wished to have backups while fighting this man. "Sorry, but I can't tell you my identity at the moment. But if you agree to work for me, then I will not only show you my face, but I will also make you even more powerful. What do you think?" In a diffier's opinion, it would be a waste to kill this woman. "Work for you? Thank you for the offer, but I am not going to betray my king. We Amazonians never break our oaths. I have sworn to serve this empire." "That's a shame." A diffier was about to end Melissa's life when he sensed the arrival of 2 other generals. "So you're the enemy." All the soldiers sighed in relief as they stepped back. The reason for this was the arrival of 2 other generals. On Melissa's right, there was a 5 feet 8 inches tall middleman. The middleman had no hair and was completely bald. A man with long black hair reaching his back stood on Melissa's right silent. "You're not escaping today." The 3 generals rushed at a diffier. Seeing this, a diffier grinned. If anyone saw his grin that was hidden because of the mask, they would be directly faint from fear. Inferno overdrive. As the 3 generals approached a diffier, suddenly a diffier's aura exploded. His aura increased to a frightening level. Before the 3 generals' attacks could reach a diffier, 3 of them were sent flying just from his aura alone. Bang! The generals quickly got up. This time there was a look of fear on their faces as they stared at a diffier. As for how a diffier managed to suddenly rise his aura to overpower beginner 5th order cultivators, no one knew the reason. "It's time for you 3 to die." Crimson lightning dash. Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, a diffier vanished. His agility had reached such a terrifying level that killing a beginner 5th order cultivator was far more easier than killing a chicken. Bang! Everyone heard a cracking sound. 1 second. 3 seconds. 5 seconds passed, but the generals did not move at all. This isn't real. Leon and others were in complete shock seeing this. The generals were their superiors. All the soldiers respected the generals. In their mind, they can never imagine seeing their generals getting defeated in a battle. Never in their life. Now, you all have two options. Put your hands in the air and surrender. Or you all can accept death from me. Leon and other soldiers were at a loss. Their decision could change their entire life. If they surrendered, they will become traitors of the Shadow Islands Empire. But if they don't surrender, this man was going to end their lives. Except for a few soldiers, almost all the soldiers had the idea of surrendering. After all, their life was bigger than becoming a traitor. As long as they lived, they would be able to earn and provide for their families. After a few seconds of silence, a certain soldier removed the helmet and dropped the sword on the ground. Bang! He then kneeled on the ground with his hands raised. Rex, why are you surrendering? Rex looked at his best friend with a smile and replied. Let's be honest, the reason that we joined the military was that we wanted to earn good money and provide for our family. Yes, this empire is my homeland, but what this empire has ever done for my family? Even though under His Majesty Liam, the empire has grown stronger, the condition of my family never changed. We are not appreciated. We are treated just like slaves. In the end, this empire needs soldiers to function. Even if we sacrifice ourselves for this empire, tomorrow the empire will hire not soldiers and forget about us. Tomorrow, if I died, my family won't receive a thing. The empire won't even bother to retrieve my body and send my dead body to my family. My position simply would be replaced by someone else. Why should I risk my life for this empire? To me, my life matters more than anything. Hearing Rex's words, the least bit of hesitance that other soldiers had in their hearts also disappeared. Even Rex's best friend surrendered. We surrender. All the soldiers kneeled to the ground with their hands raised in the air. Under the mask, Aditya smiled. You all made the right decision. A few days later, a powerful empire from the east will take over this entire empire. Once the empire takes over, I promise you all will be hired as soldiers. You all will be given higher salaries and much better treatment. The soldiers didn't know why they should believe in Aditya's words. After all, he was someone who hid his face under a mask. He didn't even reveal the name of the empire. But no soldier dared to ask any question to Aditya as they hadn't forgotten how swiftly he ended the lives of 3 generals. Scene change ____. At the same time, the 4 generals of the Eastern Empire approached the first wall. How are we going to enter Zion City? Idiot, of course, we're going to break the defensive dome. TSK. Don't call me an idiot. Scott looked at Josh from the corner of his eyes before. What did you say? Cut it out. His Majesty has given us an important mission. Please stop your catfight. The relationship between Josh and Scott is really strange. It was him who started it. I was just educating an idiot. What did you just call me? An idiot who has no brain and only has muscles. I said cut it out. Amber looked at Josh and Scott with a cold smile that sent chills down both captains' spines. Next time, I see you two fighting, I put you two under my illusion and make you two sleep together. Hearing this, both Josh and Scott trembled in fear. Even Nathan, who was remaining quiet the entire thing, trembled for a second. This woman is ruthless. Fortunately, I always have kept a distance from her. Alright, now that everyone has calmed down, let's Leon and other soldiers were at a loss. Their decision could change their entire life. If they surrendered, they will become traitors of the Shadow Islands Empire. But if they don't surrender, this man was going to end their lives. Except for a few soldiers, almost all the soldiers had the idea of surrendering. After all, their life was bigger than becoming a traitor. As long as they lived, they would be able to earn and provide for their families. Each soldier comes from a poor background. If they died, no one else was going to provide for and look after their family. After a few seconds of silence, a certain soldier removed the helmet and dropped the sword on the ground. Bang! He then kneeled on the ground with his hands raised. We surrender. All the soldiers kneeled to the ground with their hands raised in the air. Under the mask, Aditya smiled. You all made the right decision. A few days later, a powerful empire from the east will take over this entire empire. Once the empire takes over, I promise you all will be hired as soldiers. You all will be given higher salaries and much better treatment. The soldiers didn't know why they should believe in Aditya's words. After all, he was someone who hid his face under a mask. He didn't even reveal the name of the empire. But no soldier dared to ask any question to Aditya as they hadn't forgotten how swiftly he ended the lives of 3 generals. They just remained quiet and hoped in their hearts that he was speaking the truth. Scene change ____. At the same time, the 4 generals of the Eastern Empire approached the first wall. How are we going to enter Zion City? Asked Josh. After all, now that the defensive dome around Zion had been activated, they can't just walk inside the city. Idiot, of course, we're going to break the defensive dome. I am sure His Majesty already has dealt with the generals from the inside. Amber looked at Josh and Scott with a cold smile that sent chills down both captains' spines. Next time, I see you two fighting, I put you two under my illusion and make you two sleep together. Has calmed down, let's break the defensive array and slaughter some soldiers. The cold aura around Amber disappeared as if it never existed. She cheerfully smiled as if she was going to do noble work. This woman is truly dangerous. She just switched her personality within seconds. If there was any captain whom Nathan was scared of, it would be Amber. This fox woman had managed to spread her terror among the 7 divisions. And just like that, the 4 captains were in front of the first wall. Alright, Scott, please break the defensive barrier for us. Scott nodded before loading the golden bow with an arrow. Nathan wasn't the leader-type captain. And the soldiers who worked in Nathan's division had Nathan's personality. This is why Nathan never had any trouble controlling his division. Josh and Scott were always fighting like children. So Amber had to step up and take the role of leader. Although no one said it out loud, Amber has been directing their moves and working as the leader. Without Amber's role as the leader, there was a high chance that the generals were going to mess up. Under everyone's eyes, the arrow began to shine as Scott poured his mana into the arrow. A deep purple glow on Scott's arrow attracted the attention of all the soldiers who were standing on top of the walls and guarding Zion City. The enemy is here. Attack. The next second, thousands of arrows rained from the first wall. However, facing thousands of arrows, the generals looked very relaxed. Windshield. Josh simply created an invisible windshield around him. None of the arrows were strong enough to break Josh's windshield. The captain just stood there facing the arrows. His wild sharp eyes were on the soldiers that shoot arrows at Josh. A few archers caught Josh staring at them with a wild smile. Gulp. What kind of animal are we facing? The archers wondered while taking a few steps back to avoid being seen by Josh. A 2 meters black round shield formed in front of Nathan's body. The black shield was made from shadow manipulation. The shield was strong enough to withstand even magic cannon attacks. How long are you going to take, Scott? Nathan asked in an impatient tone. The Shadow Guardian was losing his patience. He couldn't wait to join his Monarch side and fight beside him. Don't worry, I am almost done charging the arrow with mana. Scott replied while dodging the arrows that were raining on him. It was unthinkable how a man can dodge so many arrows while getting ready to launch his attack. As for Amber, the Royal Fox Queen had disappeared when the arrows were launched. As for where she went, no one knew. TSK. Josh noticed that because of having to dodge arrows, Scott was taking extra time in charging his arrow. Without saying a single word, Josh created another windshield around Scott so that the Dark Elf can focus on charging his arrow. Scott and Nathan noticed the windshield but decided to not comment on it. This is how the relationship between Josh and Scott was. Both of them defended each other on the battlefield, but both would always find a topic to argue about. A few seconds later, the glow on the black arrow had reached its limit. A deep purple shine on the black arrow could be seen even beyond the walls. In the darkness, his arrow shined like the sun and radiated light in every direction. Swoosh. Under everyone's eyes, the arrow flew toward the defensive dome. Boom. All the citizens and all the soldiers protecting the first looked at the 1-meter-long arrow that hit the defensive dome. Under their horrified faces, the barrier shattered like glass. In the distance, standing in his bedroom, Liam George watched as the defensive barrier of Zion City shattered from an attack of the enemy. Liam was still unaware of his 3 generals' deaths. Liam tightly clenched his fists. What are they doing? By they, Liam meant his generals who had been killed by Aditya. Really, thank you very much to all those who shatter. The defensive dome that kept the minds of hundreds of thousands of people at ease shattered. Right before their eyes, and all the people within Zion City panicked. The crowd went wild. To make things worse, even the teleportation array also has stopped working. The people began running here and there. Some people decided to hide in their homes. Some people approached the second wall with the hope that the soldiers would protect them. Unfortunately for them, the soldiers already surrendered to Aditya. Meanwhile, the situation on the first wall was very different. Even though the enemy was only 4 people, the guards felt as if they were facing gods on the battlefield. Their mortal bodies can never match the strength of these 4. Their mortal minds didn't know what they should do in such a situation. The only that their minds told them to do was to run. Run from here. Run to survive. Run with all of their might. Run to get out of here. And pray that they don't get killed by these 4. One by one, the guards abandoned their positions and began to flee. Why should I stay here and get myself killed? Let's flee from here. Seeing more and more soldiers running away even before the battle started, the captain and other soldiers who stayed were at a loss. Seeing so many fellow soldiers running away, the ones who stayed also started to feel that they should also run. Where are you guys going? The captain shouted. He really hoped that the soldiers would stop running and fight the enemy. Unfortunately, in a situation like this, no one bothered to listen to his words. It was chaos. Damn it. Where are the generals? In times like this, we really need their help. The captain felt useless. Even though he was also a 4th-order cultivator, even he didn't have the courage to face the enemy. His only last remaining hope was that one of the generals would come and stop the enemy. Little did he know, that their generals had been long killed by the Eastern Emperor. Meanwhile, Josh, Amber, Nathan, and Scott arrived on top of the walls only to find the soldiers running away. No one was even willing to fight them. Cowards. Originally, His Majesty told us to give the soldiers 2 options. Surrender and fight to the death. But it seems the soldiers are too afraid to even face us. Amber didn't know what to do. These guys are not fit to be soldiers. They do not have the courage to fight. I am sure they all will easily surrender and start working for the Eastern Empire. But hiring these soldiers would be the same as wasting the Empire's money. What Nathan said was right. Even if the Eastern Empire hired these soldiers and made them work for the Eastern Empire, in times of need, these spineless soldiers will just run from the battlefield. Should we kill them? Nathan asked. No, let them escape. From this moment their careers as soldiers are over. Even if these soldiers try to enter the Eastern Empire's military in the future, they won't be selected. Let's hurry up. I can't wait to join His Majesty. The 4 generals then began slaughtering the ones who opposed them. Scene change _______. On the other side of the battlefield, Aditya had slaughtered over 12,000 troops. The ones who dared to fight him were dead. The ones who acted smart and surrendered were left alive. And the ones who ran away, Aditya didn't stop them. Bang! Opening the doors of the throne hall, Aditya walked towards the golden throne that was located at the end of the throne hall. There was a middle-aged man sitting on the throne and looking at Aditya. The man had black hair and yellow eyes. He was 6 feet tall and had a muscular-built body. The man was a peak 4th order mage. Sitting on his throne, he wore his crown and held a golden staff in his hand. Who are you? Liam George asked. Aditya did not reply. He instead removed the mask and revealed his face. Seeing his face, Liam's entire body began to tremble. Because of this, the golden crown fell to the ground. Yo, you. It's nice to meet you, Sir Liam. I am sure you know me very well. Aditya introduced himself as he stepped toward Liam. Don't come any closer. Liam was horrified. At this moment there were many questions in his mind. He wanted to know why this monster was here. If Aditya was here, then what happened to the Dragon Slayer Guild? What happened to his generals? Sir Liam, as far as I am aware, there is no blood between us. I don't even know you. Yet you still sent the Dragon Slayer Guild to take my life. That's not a good thing. After learning your name, I had to pay you a visit. Did you like my surprise? Aditya, you. Liam was so scared that he couldn't speak properly. Deep down, he was now starting to regret being too greedy. If he hadn't been so greedy then he wouldn't have made Aditya his enemy. Aditya stood 5 meters away from the throne. This is the end of your Shadow Islands empire. After killing you, I am going to pay a visit to your other 2 allies as well. Don't worry, very soon you will see your friends in hell. Bang! The next second, Liam noticed something strange about his body. Liam found that the temperature of his entire body was rapidly increasing. No, stop. Please forgive me. Liam cared about his life more than anything. Too late for that. Snap. With the snap of his fingers, the next second, Liam's entire body melted along with the golden throne and his golden crown. Ah. Ding. You have killed a peak 4th order cultivator. Your experience points have been saved. Sigh. Finally done. The next moment Aditya used one of his new skills. Dragon Transfer. Dragon Transfer. 3rd order passive skill. Description: a special passive that the host has learned when the Dragon Palace was made. Only the Dragon Monarch possesses this passive skill. Function: using this skill, the Dragon Monarch can switch places with any of your blood vessels, Dragonine and Dragon soldiers, at any given second. This skill doesn't require any mana to use. The number of times that this skill can be used is unlimited and there is no cooldown time for this skill. The next second, Aditya appeared beside Amber. Swoosh. Amber, Nathan, Josh, and Scott stopped and looked at Aditya. By now the 4 generals were also done and were heading toward the second wall. Your Majesty. The generals were about to kneel but Aditya stopped them. There is no need to kneel now. I have killed King Liam. There are around 8,000 soldiers who have surrendered. Amber, you take control of the situation. For now, don't reveal the Eastern Empire's name. Understood. Amber nodded her head. You 3 come with me. By now, the Dragonians already should have attacked the other 8 Shadow Islands. Nathan, Josh, and Scott were happy to assist their monarch in battle. Dragon Transfer. The next second, Aditya and the 3 generals teleported to the Enchanted Home, which is the biggest among the 9 Shadow Islands. The situation in the Enchanted Home was the same. A light blue barrier has been built around the barrier. Without any 5th order cultivator, no one can break the barrier. The barrier also prevented anyone from the Enchanted Home from escaping. Around 1,000 Dragonians attacked the 3 cities on the Enchanted Home. Within just 2 minutes, all 3 cities had fallen under the Dragonians' control. Also at the same time, the Duke who governed the Enchanted Home and his entire has been captured alive. Greeting to Dragon Monarch. All the Dragonians got on their knees to greet the Dragon Monarch. Everyone, stand up. I am proud of you all. But this isn't the time to stop. Saying these words, Aditya looked at the Duke whose hands has been tied and he was currently kneeling on the ground. Who are you? The Duke asked. I am the Eastern Emperor. Duke Thomas and his wife widened their eyes in shock. Why the Eastern Empire attacked the Shadow Islands Empire? Did King Liam offend Aditya in any way? Both Duke and his wife wondered. One of the Dragonians took out a chair. Aditya sat down and looked at the Duke. Duke Thomas was a man in his late 20s. He had long red hair and red glowing eyes. Thomas was a vampire and a peak 3rd order cultivator. Thomas had a family of 3. Duke Thomas Evans. You know my name? Thomas didn't think that the Eastern Emperor would know his name. I know many things about you, Aditya replied with a cold smile. Duke Thomas Evans, from this moment onwards, the Shadow Islands are under the control of the Eastern Empire. Before coming here, I killed your king. Now you have 2 choices in your hand. You can surrender and work for me or I will have to kill you. No, please don't kill Papa. Aditya was interrupted by a 5-year-old small girl. One of the Dragonians pointed his sword at the little girl. The 5-year-old small girl almost looked like a younger version of Duke Thomas. Put your sword down. Hearing Aditya's order, the Dragonian put his sword away from the little girl. Strangely, the Dragon Monarch smiled at the girl. This confused the 3 generals and others. Little girl, why should I spare your Papa? Aditya asked in a stern voice. Because Rhea loves Papa. Hearing this, Aditya widened his eyes before a small smile appeared on his face. Aditya closed his eyes and couldn't help but think about his third wife whose name was also Rhea. Why I am hesitating? The Dragon Monarch asked himself. Normally Aditya would never be hesitant when facing his enemies. His resolve always had been clear. He would never be hesitant to kill his enemies. For today, Aditya was feeling hesitant. He found his resolve shaking because of this little girl. If Thomas rejected Aditya's offer, he was planning on killing Thomas and his entire family. But now he couldn't even bring himself to say these words. Normally I would kill Thomas's entire family along with him. But why I can't bring myself to kill this little girl? Have I become too soft or what? In the past, Aditya would never hesitate. Aditya looked at the little girl. Children are said to be angels because of their innocence. Children are not corrupted by the evil of this world. They are the purest being in this world. Your Majesty. Nathan hesitantly called out to Aditya. In his response, the monarch showed a small smile before looking at Thomas. Thomas, you have done many wrong things in your life. Normally I would kill you and your entire family. But your daughter has changed my mind now. Everyone noticed that Aditya's tone seems to have gotten softer. Meanwhile, Thomas widened his eyes upon hearing Aditya's words. At this moment something changed inside Thomas as well. Thomas, if you're ready to serve me under a contract, then I will let you remain as the Duke of this island. But do know that, serving me would mean that you would have to change. You cannot continue doing your illegal business. You have to change your path. Or I will destroy your and your wife's cultivation and kick your entire family out of this empire. Now chose your and your family's future. Now chose your and your family's future. These words impacted Thomas deeply. Especially the words, your family. Thomas was blessed with a loving family and an adorable daughter. If his cultivation was destroyed and he along with his family was kicked out of this empire, Thomas would have no place to go. The future of his daughter would be in danger. Here, Thomas can ensure his daughter's safety. But if he suddenly loses his powers, then his entire family would be in danger. Fate has given me a second chance. I am not a good husband. I am not a good father. Maybe it's time for me to change. Thomas closed his eyes and accepted what fate has brought upon him. I accept. The next few hours, Aditya spent traveling to the other 7 Shadow Islands. All the dukes agreed to accept the contract. The contract prevented any dukes from betraying Aditya and the Eastern Empire. The contract gave the dukes more freedom. The reason all the dukes easily accepted Aditya as their king is because from the beginning none of the dukes were happy with Liam George. Liam restricted their earning, restricted their powers, and restricted their authority. Under Liam's rule, none of the nobles had much political power. On the other hand, joining the Eastern Empire gave them all of it. Their powers and their authority had increased. They were in charge of the Shadow Islands. Scene change ________. A few hours later, Aditya returned back to Zion City. As for the other generals, they were dealing with the small bugs. A few hours later, Amber returned to the castle only to find Aditya waiting for her. Your Majesty. Amber was surprised to see Aditya return so quickly. It only has been a few hours since Aditya left Amber here. Amber, how is everything going? Aditya asked. I have captured King Liam's family members. King Liam had 1 wife and 18 concubines. But he didn't have any children. It seems he didn't want any children. What should we do with them? Amber asked. Give them 1,000 royal gold coins each and let them go. Also, return their belongings as well. Aditya wasn't the least bit interested in Liam's family. The reason he was willing each of them 1,000 royal gold coins was so that these women can live a good life without needing to worry about money. But Aditya was sure that most of these women would just remarry after some time. Let them go? Your Majesty, I don't think this is a good choice. Liam's wife and concubines will definitely hold grudge against Aditya. In Amber's opinion, letting them go wasn't a good choice. Aditya rubbed the back of his head and replied in a lazy tone. Those women are free to do whatever they want. I don't really care. If you're worried that Liam's women will try to get revenge on me, then you can rest assured. Now that Liam is dead, no one would value these women. His wife and concubines have lost their status. Even if they want to get revenge on me, it would a dream that they can never accomplish. Alright. I will order someone to release them. Before capturing Liam's wife and the concubines, Amber had confiscated their belongings. Snap. A Dragonian walked inside the throne hall. By now, Amber had replaced the previous throne where Aditya had melted Liam's body along with his throne with a chair. The Dragonian found his king sitting on a chair while Amber standing a few meters away from him. This humble servant greets the Emperor. The Dragonian greeted Aditya by kneeling on one knee. Stand up. As the Dragonian stood up, Amber told the reason why he was called. Release King Liam's wife and concubines with their belongings. Also, give each of them 1,000 royal gold coins. The Dragonian was confused about why the emperor wanted to get the wife and concubines of the enemy go. But he didn't ask any questions and did what he ordered. After the Dragonian left, Amber looked at Aditya with a hesitant gaze. What are you thinking? Aditya understood that his fox general wants to tell him something. Your Majesty, you will be offended if I tell you what I am thinking right now. Don't worry. You can speak. I promise I won't be offended. Aditya was curious to know what his general was thinking. All right. Suddenly the aura around Amber completely changed. Amber now looked very serious. Her eyes became cold. She looked at Aditya as if she was looking at her enemy. Your Majesty, do you have any idea how much you have made my best friend suffer while you were gone for over a month? Amber asked while pressuring Aditya with her killing intent. Aditya, ____. The emperor was left speechless. Right now, I want to climb those stairs and beat the living hell out of you for making Julia cry all those times. Amber took a deep breath, trying to calm herself and prevent herself from making any rush move that she might regret in the future. Your Majesty, please don't do something like this ever again. Saying these words, Amber turned away. Her back faced Aditya while she hid her expression. Aditya was really amused. To think Amber was willing to go as far as getting angry in front of Aditya and say these words to him in such a tone really goes to show just how much Amber values Julia. Julia has found a really nice friend. Aditya thought in his mind with a small smile. After a minute of silence, Amber faced Aditya. Lowering her head, she apologized. My apologies for saying these words. But I have been wanting to say these words to you for a while now. Your Majesty, you can punish me for my rude behavior. I did promise that I won't be offended. If I punish you, it would mean that I am breaking my promise. And I never break my promise. I am a man of my word after all. Besides, I am also glad to know that Julia has found such a nice friend. Amber was really surprised. After saying those words, she was expecting to be punished by Aditya. Deep down she was even expecting to lose her position as the captain. But nothing like that happened. Lifting her head, Amber saw a genuine smile on the young man's face. It was the very same young man who ruled the lives of millions. It was the very same young man who was known for his cruelty. To the world, Aditya is the dragon monarch and the emperor. But at home, he is a good husband. His wives and his family are his top priority. His family comes before his duties. Right now, the person smiling at Amber wasn't the emperor, rather it was Julia's husband. Your Majesty, all the generals returned to Zion City after 10 minutes. Our work here is done. The entire Shadow Islands Empire has fallen. No one knows that the Eastern Empire is responsible for this. 2 more empires left. With the Dragonians, the entire process was extremely easy. The Dragonians were able to enter the enemy cities using the teleportation arrays that each branch guild office of the Seekers of Impurity Guild had. The enemy had no idea what hit them. Using the element of surprise, Aditya was able to take down the enemy empire within a few hours. Aditya killed all the 5th Order cultivators, while his generals took care of the 4th Order cultivators. As for the lower order cultivators, the Dragonians easily killed them. The night is far from being over. I believe before dawn we will be able to take down the other 2 empires. I hope everyone is ready. If anyone is tired or out of mana, use 4-star stamina recovery and 4-star mana recovery pills. Aditya was only planning on dealing with the 5th Order cultivators and leave the rest to the generals and the Dragonians. Till now the 7 generals have been led by Aditya. But now Aditya wanted the 7 generals to lead the Dragonians in this war. Alright, let's head out. Just as Aditya stood up to leave, a certain someone barged in. Bang! Aditya, I also want to come with you. The one who came was none other than the goddess of nature. The goddess's words left the generals, the Dragonians, and even the emperor in shock. For a moment the whole place fell into silence. No one spoke a single word. Everyone was looking at Aditya and Rhea in silence. Aditya looked at Rhea for a few minutes before sighing. Sigh. Why do you want to come with me? Aditya asked after failing to guess why the goddess of nature suddenly wants to join him. The goddess's cheeks turned slightly red as she replied. Because I want to spend time with you. Lady Rhea is so straightforward. One of the female Dragonians thought in her mind. Maybe I should also become more aggressive like Lady Rhea. Thought another Dragonian. Lady Rhea is so cool. Every Dragonian had a different thought hearing Rhea's words. Sigh. Alright. Come here. Aditya just accepted. Since Rhea was already here, sending her back was useless. Especially with her strength, Aditya won't have to worry about her safety. After the goddess walked in front of Aditya, the dragon monarch did something that surprised everyone. Under everyone's gazes, he patted his lap and signaled Rhea to sit there. Seeing this the goddess was more than happy. As she came in front of Aditya, he made her sit on his lap while leaning her back against his chest. He also wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her closer to his body. This is kind of embarrassing but I love it. Rhea thought as she felt her cheeks heating up. Rhea sat on his lap and remained quiet like a little girl. Aditya resumed his meeting without showing any emotions. He gave out several orders before everyone was dismissed. The plan was simple but very effective. The surprise element was the Sapphire Barrier, the 4-star barrier that Aditya learned after becoming a 4-star runemaster. The barrier was just a simple 4-star defensive barrier. Aditya then added another feature within the barrier. Before the barrier is formed, the 4 cubes release a mana wave that prevents anyone from using teleportation magic or a teleportation array within the barrier. The name of this barrier is the Sapphire Barrier. Unlike normal defensive barriers, the Sapphire Barrier can be activated using the 4 cubes. The 4 cubes act as a battery by holding a large amount of mana within them. When the 4 cubes ran out of mana, the cubes can be recharged with mana from mana stones or mana provided by cultivators. The 4 cubes allow the Eastern Empire to create a protective barrier in any place. Unlike traditional defensive domes that can only protect cities, the Sapphire Barrier can be set up in any place or in any region. This gives the Eastern Empire more flexibility and more defensive powers. After everyone left, it was only Aditya and Rhea in the throne hall. "Today, you're oddly romantic," Rhea asked with a smile. Aditya is not the type who shows affection in public. It's not that Rhea hated it. It was the opposite. The goddess really liked this side of Aditya. In response, Rhea felt his strong and muscular arms tightly holding her waist. He buried his face in his right shoulder. "I always have been romantic. Today I just felt like hugging you. Am I not allowed to do that?" In response, the goddess giggled. "You're tired, aren't you?" Aditya opened his eyes. "What made you assume this?" Aditya asked in a soft tone. Rhea held Aditya's arms and replied in a calm and soft tone. "I am not assuming anything. I can feel it. What kind of wife I would be if I can't even feel my husband's exhaustion?" She didn't realize that her words shocked him. At this moment only if Rhea had seen his shocked face. She continued, "To us, you have been gone for over a month, but in reality, while you were stuck in that world, you have been fighting. Even before you went to that world, you were working very hard. I very rarely saw you take a break. Now after coming back, you're back to work once again. First, the Dragon Slayer Guild, second the Shadow Islands Empire, and now this. A day later, you will be facing the Echo Nexus Empire, and a week later, you will go to the Deep Sea Palace to help Laura. Even for a cultivator, this is just too much. Sometimes you need to take a break. Right now, you might not feel fatigued. But over time this fatigue will slowly grow into something big. Even cultivators need to give their bodies rest." In a way Rhea was right. Aditya did more than fight the man-eater monster. His visit to the icy shattered ruin had resurfaced some painful memories. He met one of the origin dragons. He found a sleeping princess. He even met the sleeping princess's parents. And all the new information that was given to him. All of these facts did make him a little exhausted. For a moment Aditya didn't know what to say in response. He was really lucky to have Rhea and others by his side. Otherwise, he surely would have fallen a long time ago. Aditya lifted Rhea. He made her turn around facing him. Without saying a single word, he buried his face in her chest. Rhea smiled and gently caressed his head. "I am not tired yet. Right now, I have to do this because I need to ensure my family, my friends, and my people's safety. After dealing with the Echo Nexus Empire and after helping Laura, maybe then I will take things a little easy." "Please do." For a few minutes, both remained like this. "You know, this is the first time I am hugging you like this. I like it when you let go of your worries and lean on me. Someone is jealous. I can't help it, you know. When all of this is over, I will take you out somewhere." Suddenly Rhea couldn't help but feel excited. "Where are you going to take me?" "You will just have to wait." Seeing Aditya being mysterious, Rhea gave up. "By the way, this Sapphire Barrier that you came up with is really awesome. As far as I know, the Eastern Empire is the only empire in the whole world that has something like this. The Sapphire Barrier can be used in so many ways." "Thank you for the compliment. There are still many ways for me to improve the Sapphire Barrier. For example, I can add mana gathering arrays on the 4 cubes. So when the Sapphire Barrier is activated, the barrier will gather mana from the atmosphere. The people who are inside the Sapphire Barrier will be able to cultivate much faster. Or I can add an illusion array that would not only hide the barrier itself but also trap anyone who tries to break the barrier in a powerful illusion." Hee. As expected of my husband. The goddess couldn't help but give a kiss on his lips. "I should return the favor." "Wait, ah." The goddess moaned as his hands went down and squeezed her ass cheeks. Scene change _________. Around 5 hours later. All the generals had returned to Zion City. The generals also bought some prisoners with them. "Good job everyone." Aditya smiled looking at the prisoners. Rhea was standing behind Aditya. Her cheeks were red. Her breathing was ragged. "It seems we interrupted them," Amber thought while observing Rhea. Aditya did not cross the line yet. Both of them played around a little bit before everyone returned. "Aditya, what's the meaning of this? Why did you suddenly attack our empires? We didn't harm you in any way." Among the prisoners, there were 2 individuals who stood out from the rest because of their unique features. The first still had a half-broken crown on his head. He was an old man who had white hair and a big white mustache. The old man was 6 feet 4 inches tall. Despite looking old, he had a muscular-built body. The name of this old man was Elio. Aditya coldly looked at Elio and the other emperor named John. "There is no need to pretend, old fox. I already have ended Liam's life. Now it's time for both of you to pay." Hearing Aditya's words, both Elio and John's bodies stiffened. Both of them struggled to get away from Aditya. But doing that only earned them 2 kicks in their stomachs. "Now, let's talk." It was 4 in the morning. While the people of Zion City were sleeping, their new ruler, the Dragon Monarch, and his companion were busy vanquishing another neighboring empire. After the chaos that Aditya and the 4 generals caused in Zion City, things have finally calmed down. The people of Zion City were assured that no one was going to attack them. This assurance gave them the peace that they needed to fall asleep. Otherwise, there is no way that the people of Zion City would be able to sleep peacefully knowing that they were trapped within a barrier and there was no way for them to leave this island. Amber announced the death of King Liam George and told the people of Zion City that this entire Shadow Islands empire was under their control. The people of Zion City and the people of the Shadow Islands empire were going to have a new emperor. As for who was going to be their new emperor or which empire has managed to overthrow Liam George, the previous king, no one had any idea about it. The people could only speculate till things comes to light. Using 8,000 soldiers that previously had surrendered to Aditya, Amber was able to stabilize the entire city. Sent 4,000 soldiers to protect the first wall. The entire city was shut down and no people were allowed to go out or come in. When the defensive dome was broken, the people panicked and began running here and there. The whole of Zion City had temporarily fallen into chaos. It took Amber a few hours to calm the chaos using the soldiers. The defensive dome of Zion City still needs to be fixed. Back to the royal castle. The royal castle of Zion City used to be the home of King Liam George. The people of Zion City could only dream of living at least one day of their life in such a grand place. But in Aditya's eyes, the royal castle was nothing special. In his eyes, the royal castle belonged to the category of average. As someone who lives in the Dragon Palace, not even 100 royal castles can match the beauty and the value of the Dragon Palace. Since the entire Shadow Islands Empire is now a territory of the Eastern Empire, Zion City will no longer be called the capital. Aditya was planning on appointing a capable person to be in charge of Zion City and this island. Previously all the powers of the Shadow Islands Empire were concentrated within Ashkur Island, but now this was going to change. Ashkur Island has gained the same status as the other 8 Shadow Islands. And whoever is made in charge of governing Ashkur Island will use the royal castle of King Liam George. Aditya wasn't planning on using the royal castle. In his eyes, the royal castle is another man's property. Even if Liam is now dead and Aditya has taken over his empire, it kind of felt strange for him to use someone else's thing. After all, King Liam has spent over 141 plus of his life in this royal castle. Thought it would be a different thing if the entire royal castle was renovated to suit Aditya's taste. But why Aditya would be interested in bronze when he owns diamonds? I truly never expected you to do all these in just a single night. This goes to show that from the beginning you had the power to crush us whenever you wished to. We were fools to think that we could defeat. Maybe if all of the Western region's emperors had managed to come together, then maybe the whole outcome could have been changed. Sigh. It looks like getting old has declined my thinking capacity. I should have understood this. John sighed in regret. Unlike King Elio, whose eyes were full of fear, John's eyes were calm. Aditya can see regret in his eyes, but there was no fear of death. When Aditya learned that all 7 superpowers of the Western region were aiming for the Eastern Empire, more specifically the Southern region territories, he pulled a few strings to start a war among the 4 of the 7 superpowers. The other 3 superpowers remained neutral. Aditya thought that this war would end the Western region's ambition of conquering the Southern region. However, he was wrong when the remaining 3 superpowers gave a big sum of money to the Dragon Slayer Guild to end the Eastern Emperor's life. No one expected the Dragon Slayer Guild to be defeated even without Aditya. When their plan failed, the 3 emperors were not frightened or anything. At that time, they didn't think that Aditya would later go on to annihilate the entire Dragon Slayer Guild and drown the base island of the Dragon Slayer Guild. When their plans failed, the 3 emperors were angry and frustrated as they had spent a lot of money hiring the Dragon Slayer Guild for this job. Also, not to mention the risk that they had taken. The 3 emperors met and agreed to remain silent for the next few months till they can find a perfect plan. The 3 superpowers thought all of these would be kept super secret, but tonight they learned that Aditya was aware of their little plan. Not only that, but also he had come in the darkness of the night to take revenge. Now the Kezia Empire and the Niwan Empire also had fallen. In a single night, 3 superpowers fell into the hands of the Eastern Empire. This is something that no other empire has managed to accomplish before. Taking down 3 empires in a single night is an accomplishment that will surely send shockwaves throughout 6 continents. John Harper is an old man who looks like he is around 80 years old. John had long white hair that reached down his waist. Unlike Emperor Elio, John was thin and skinny but tall as King Elio. He was fair-skinned. He had a long white beard. The Emperor of the Niwan Empire is a peak second-order cultivator, which is a surprising thing. But according to Spencer, around 100 years ago, John took a life-taking blow from a peak 4th-order cultivator. As a result, John's cultivation directly fell from peak 3rd order to peak 2nd order. King of Niwan Empire, do you regret your actions? I have very few regrets in life. But overall, I have lived a beautiful life. I might not have been a good man, but I don't regret my action. Eastern King, you can kill me if you want. I have one last dying wish. Would you hear me out? Oh, King of Niwan Empire, this Dragon Monarch will hear out your dying wish. Just leave my family alone. Make them sign a blood contract and let them go. If John had asked for his life, then Aditya wouldn't have killed him. He would have put John in his prison. But contrary to his expectations, this man chose his family. Aditya smiled and nodded his head. Alright, I give you my word. John nodded his head with a relieved smile. The next moment, under everyone's shocked eyes, the old man took out a sword from his storage ring. He then gave one last nodding look to Aditya before stabbing himself with his sword. Farewell. Aditya, Ria, and everyone was still in deep shock. Elio was petrified looking at John's dead body. Just like that, the old man had taken his life. There was no hesitation and no fear on his face. His resolve was strong as a mountain. Old man, you have earned my respect despite being my enemy. You died like a hero. Aditya then turned his attention to King Elio. Now, what path are you going to choose, King Elio? Now, what path are you going to choose, King Elio? King Elio, the king of the Kezia Empire, was in dilemma. Seeing John take his life scared him. Right now Elio's legs were trembling. His mind was a mess. He didn't know what to do. I am not brave enough to take my life like John. I don't want to die yet. I don't want to lose my kingdom. Yet the choices in hands are limited to two. Either I take my life or I suffer in Aditya's hands. No matter how much Elio thought, the concept of death scared him. Elio was scared of death. I surrender. Elio lowered his head and closed his eyes. Aditya observed Elio's reaction for an entire minute. Elio, I will not kill you. From now on you will become my slave. You will spend the rest of your life working in a gold mine. A part of Elio was relieved that Aditya didn't kill him immediately. Elio was more afraid of death than any other punishment in this world. Elio had gone from being the emperor to be a mere slave who was going to work in mines for the rest of his life. Henry stepped forward and put a slave collar around Elio's neck. When Elio was captured, his cultivation already had been crippled. Henry then took away the storage ring that Elio had worn. While doing that, he also took out the storage ring from John's dead body. Henry gave 2 storage rings to Spencer. The Prime Minister was going to put everything in both Emperor's storage rings in the treasury. Someone take him away. 2 Dragonians soon dragged Elio away. As for what was going to happen to his family, Elio didn't care. Unlike John who loved his family, Elio was never that close to his family. Aditya glanced at John's dead body before ordering. Bring John's family. A Dragonian nodded his head and then walked out of the throne hall. Your Majesty, what should we do with Elio's family? Asked Prime Minister Spencer. Correct me if I am wrong, but Elio has 2 wives and 2 sons, right? Spencer nodded his head. Tell me about his family. Are they like Elio or? Elio's first wife and his first son are just like Elio. Cold, cunning, ruthless, and arrogant. But his second wife and his second wife's son are different. The second wife and her son were always bullied by Elio's first wife and her son. The second wife is a kind-hearted woman. She has raised her son to become a kind-hearted young man. Elio knew about the bullying but he never did anything against it. Aditya closed his eyes and began to think. Send the first wife and her son to Elio. The family can spend the rest of their lives working in mines. As for the second wife and her son, bring them to me. As you command. Spencer signaled someone to fetch Elio's second wife and her son. Meanwhile, John's family members entered the throne hall. Aditya was expecting the family members to break down upon seeing John's dead body, but strangely none of the family members made any sound. Tears fell from their eyes. It was as if they knew that John was going to die, and seeing his dead body they just accepted the whole thing. Do you not hate me? Aditya couldn't help but ask John's wife. Wipe. John's wife wiped the tears from her cheeks and looked at Aditya. I hate you, but I have promised my dear husband that I am going to start a new life and not pursue revenge. I had a feeling that this day would come. A long time ago John had told his wife and his family, in case the Niwan Empire was to fall and they were captured, John wanted his family to start a new life in a new place without thinking of revenge. The wife and the family members kneeled around John's dead body. While gently caressing John's hair, the wife continued. My husband is a greedy man. But he has a kind heart. Since our marriage, I have tried to change him. Unfortunately, I wasn't successful. What happened to him today was a result of his greed. You can take John's dead body with you. Give him a proper burial. Aditya knew that the people of the western region had different beliefs. The body of their loved ones or their family is buried after properly dressing the dead. The western region people believe that there is a life after death and that burying their loved ones in proper dress would ensure prosperity in their next life. Thank you, Your Majesty. John's family was grateful to Aditya for allowing them to give John a proper burial. There is no need to thank me. Spencer, give them 10,000 royal gold coins. Hearing this, all members of John's family widened their eyes in surprise. Your Majesty, I appreciate your kindness, but I don't think there is any need for you to give us such a big amount. To start a new life, you would need money. And I don't think you have enough money for that. After all, when the members of the royal family were captured, all of their belongings and their assets were also taken away. The former queen knew what Aditya said was right. She didn't wish to receive any support from the enemy. Even if she and her family wasn't going to pursue revenge for John, it didn't mean that the royal family didn't hate Aditya. Seeing the former queen still hesitating, Aditya quickly added. Think of these 10,000 royal gold coins as me returning some of your assets in cash. John's wife nodded her head with a conflicted look. She still found it humiliating to receive money from her enemy. But she knew that this money would help them start a new life. Aditya sighed seeing John's family leave with John's dead body. As soon as John's family left, a beautiful mature woman and a 19-year-old young man walked in. The woman had black long hair and a beautiful face. The woman is a peak second-order cultivator. While the young man walking beside the woman is a mid-2 ND order cultivator. They were Elio's second wife and Elio's second son. According to what Aditya has been told by Spencer, Elio's second wife's name is Nyla Thompson, and the young man standing beside her was called Isaac Thompson. Your Majesty. Both Nyla and Isaac got to one knee and lowered their heads. Stand up. I have something important that I want to discuss with both of you. After Nyla and Isaac stood up. Do you know what I have done to your husband and to the Kezia Empire? Yes. Nyla and Isaac have seen Elio being dragged away by 2 guards. From the Dragonians, Nyla has learned that the Emperor has turned Elio into a slave. He was going to work the rest of his life in a mine. I will keep things straight and clear for you too. Nyla was still confused about why she and her son hasn't been punished. Standing in front of the dragon monarch, both mother and son were feeling nervous. The Kezia Empire has 4 major islands that previously were ruled by Elio and 3 dukes. I can't just leave these 4 islands without a governor. The sooner I find a governor, the faster things will improve. After a short pause, Aditya turned his attention to Elio's second son. Unlike Elio, Isaac was kind and hardworking. Aditya liked Isaac's character. Isaac, do you have any experience in governing territory? Hearing Aditya's question, Nyla was able to understand why the Emperor wanted to meet them. Realizing this, inwardly Nyla became really happy and also excited. She tried her best to not show it on her face. Isaac nodded his head. Even though Elio neglected him and his mother, as the second prince, he was taught a lot of things. Isaac knows how to rule a territory. Good. This makes things easier. Isaac, I will give you an opportunity. As of now, you're no longer a prince. Isaac, what do you kind of become the governor of Bursbury Island? Isaac widened his eyes in deep shock. On the other hand, Nyla was able to take the news calmly, but inwardly she was beyond excited. Previously Nyla saw no hope for her son to become the emperor, as Elio kind of favored his first son and was also thinking of declaring the first prince as the crown prince. Bursbury Island is the capital island of the Kezia Empire. Even if Isaac was no longer the prince, if he agreed, he would become a noble of the Eastern Empire and would become the governor of Bursbury Island. Isaac, I will give you an opportunity. As of now, you're no longer a prince. Isaac, what do you kind of become the governor of Bursbury Island? Isaac widened his eyes in deep shock. Previously Nyla saw no hope for her son to become the emperor, as Elio kind of favored his first son and was also thinking of declaring the first prince as the crown prince. In her mind, Nyla was praying to every god whose name she has heard in her life for her son's safety. Rather than getting executed, she wanted her son to live. When the Dragonian told her that the emperor wanted to meet her and her son, Nyla became nervous. As the emperor's words would decide their future. Never did Nyla think that the emperor would give her son such a big opportunity, despite her son being the son of the Eastern Emperor's enemy. Bursbury Island is the capital island of the Kezia Empire. Even if Isaac was no longer the prince, if he agreed, he would become a noble of the Eastern Empire and would become the governor of Bursbury Island. This was 1,000,000 times better than becoming a slave or getting executed. Standing behind Aditya, Rhea observed Nyla and her son Isaac. The goddess didn't like politics. Just like Julia, she preferred to stay away from this kind of thing. The only reason that she was still here is that she wanted to spend more time with Aditya. Looking at Isaac, the goddess of nature sensed something wrong with Isaac's body. It looks like he has been poisoned and he is not even aware of it. Rhea thought in her mind. For now, she decided to observe Isaac a little to learn more about the poison while Isaac decided his fate. Isaac recovered from his shock. Isaac didn't reply immediately. The reason for this was the confusion and the hesitance that took over his heart. Isaac knew that he never was going to become the king. From a young age, he understood this fact very well. Now that he was given a chance to start a new life, Isaac wasn't sure if he should just accept Aditya's offer. Aditya's offer really tempted him, but Isaac wasn't sure if he was ready to serve someone. Isaac turned his head to his right and looked at his mother. The young man saw his mother nodding her head at him with a smile. That's right. I am not alone. I just can't think about myself. From now on I must take care of my mother. She is my only remaining family. As for Elio and his stepmother, Isaac didn't really care what happened to them. Your Majesty, I don't know how I will thank you for giving me such a huge opportunity. You have given me and my mother the chance to start a new life. I gladly accept your offer. I may not be experienced as other nobles, but I am someone who learns this rather quickly. I promise to not disappoint you in the future. Hearing this, Aditya nodded his head with a satisfied look. Nyla was proud of her son. My apologizes for interrupting, but this is something very important and it concerns your future. Rhea's voice made everyone look at her. Isaac and Nyla both looked at Rhea. Isaac has to admit that Rhea is the most beautiful woman that he has ever seen in his life. As the former prince, the number of beautiful women that Isaac has met in his 19-years-old life is too many to count. But none of them comes closer to Rhea. You're poisoned? Everyone within the throne hall widened their eyes. Nyla covered her mouth in shock. What? Me and poisoned? Isaac asked while pointing at himself. Rhea just nodded his head. I don't know when you were poisoned, but this poison has slowed down your cultivation speed. I am still not sure what kind of poison is this. To know more about this poison, Rhea would Isaac's blood. But she was lazy to do that. Using her powers, she can easily cure the poison in his body regardless of its type and its powers. It must have been that bitch. Nyla's hair started floating as she released her killing intent. All of her anger was directed toward Elio's first wife. Nyla didn't come from a powerful family. In front of the first wife, Nyla's powers and authority were very less. For years, she and her son has endured all forms of bullying from Elio's first wife. Now that she has learned that her son was poisoned, Nyla had finally reached her limit. Her eyes turned red from anger. Right now, if Elio's first wife was in front of Nyla, she would have killed this bitch using her bare hands. Sensing his mother's killing intent, Isaac tried his best to calm his mother. Mother, please calm down. Those people are going to spend the rest of their lives as slaves. You're right. Nyla took a deep breath to calm herself. Your Majesty, my apologies. I lost my calm there. Aditya waved his hand to tell her that he was not offended. Any mother in her position would have the same reaction. Ria, can you help Isaac? Aditya asked. Ria nodded her head. The next second, she took out a dark green apple from her storage ring and threw it to Isaac. Isaac caught the apple and looked at Ria for some explanation. This isn't any simple apple. It's a 4-star magic fruit. The healing apple can cure any 4-star or lower star poisons. Ria hoped that the poison in Isaac's body wasn't a 5-star poison. If it was a 5-star poison, then it would be very troublesome for her. Hearing that this was a 4-star magic fruit, everyone in the throne hall was surprised. One had to know that magic fruits were extremely rare and very difficult to find. Magic fruits are mostly guarded by powerful magic animals. This is why magic fruits are so costly, as it is extremely difficult to obtain them. Magic fruits are like natural pills. To a cultivator, magic fruits are like priceless treasures. There are many kinds of magic fruits with many kinds of properties. Your Majesty, this is really valuable. I don't know how I will ever repay you for giving me something valuable like this. Thank Ria, not me. And also there is no need for any repayment. Thank you, Lady Ria. Both mother and son bowed to Ria to express their gratitude. It's all right. To Ria, this wasn't any big deal. Being the goddess of nature, Ria had many kinds of magic fruits. Normally a 4-star magic fruit takes up to 1,000 years to grow. But with her powers, she can accelerate the growth of the magic fruit. The fruit that she has given to Isaac was one of those magic fruits that she had found in the forest. Isaac put the dark green apple in his storage ring. He was planning on consuming the magic fruit when he returned home. Alright, it's time to talk with others. The former dukes of the Shadow Islands Empire stepped forward. Hearing this, Isaac and Nyla stepped back, while 8 figures stepped forward. These 8 figures were 8 dukes who previously served King Liam. Now they have agreed to serve Aditya. Looking at the 8 dukes, the Emperor thought. Normally, I would appoint someone I trust in charge of the Shadow Islands. But now I have very little time. Within tomorrow, the Echo Nexus Empire will surely find out everything and declare war against the Eastern Empire. In times like this, I cannot leave the position of 9 governors vacant. Since the 8 dukes have agreed to serve me and with a soul-binding contract making sure that they can't betray me or the Eastern Empire, I don't have to worry at all. I have decided to give you all a second chance. Do not disappoint me, otherwise, you won't be able to handle the consequences. Aditya said while releasing a little bit of his killing intent. All 8 dukes trembled to face the Dragon Monarch's killing intent. Even his little killing intent was just too much for them. After all, the Emperor had slaughtered millions of beings. His killing intent was very potent. We won't. My king, you were kind enough to spare me and also give me a second chance. I promise I won't let you down. Replied Thomas, who previously governed the enchanted home. Aditya spared Thomas mainly because of his daughter. We won't disappoint you. This is our promise. All the other 7 dukes said simultaneously. Alright. Before we begin, there is a person that I want to see. Your Majesty, please tell me that person's name, Spencer asked. I believe his name was Leon. He was the captain-ranked soldier. Go and bring Leon. Obeying Spencer's order, a Dragonian went out. A few minutes later, the guard returned with a Leon. Leon walked in. His gaze fell on Aditya, who was sitting on a chair and looking at him. Seeing Aditya, Leon gulped, remembering how quickly he ended the lives of the 3 beginner 5th Order generals. After greeting the Emperor, Leon stood up, wondering why he was summoned here. After Amber took over Zion City, she ordered him to organize the 8,000 soldiers who also had surrendered and calm the chaos within the city. Leon, I want to make you the governor of Zion City and Ashkur Island. Just so you know, I am not pressuring you to take this position or anything. I am offering you this position. You're free to reject my offer if you think that you are not suited for this role. Hearing Aditya's words, Isaac, Nyla, Thomas and other captured nobles were shocked. They didn't think the Emperor would give such a big opportunity to a mere captain. The more Leon heard Aditya's words, the more wide his eyes became. In the end, his mouth was wide open. Leon just couldn't believe it. The Emperor himself was giving him such a huge opportunity. Leon came from a poor family. Just like any other soldier, he also became a soldier to have a stable income. Due to his talents and also his hard work, Leon was promoted to become the captain of the guards. After the Eastern Empire took over, Leon thought that his rank in the military was going to fall. But he was still satisfied as he had heard how well the Eastern Empire treats its soldiers. In the Eastern Empire, becoming a soldier is seen as a symbol of pride. Not to mention, the countless benefits that an Eastern soldier and his family received. This offer is really tempting. If I accept, the condition of my whole family will change overnight. I won't have to worry about money again in my life. My family can live a luxurious life. But Leon was really happy receiving such a kind offer from the Emperor, but he felt that he wasn't worthy. Other than being able to write and read, I don't know anything about governing or ruling. I will just end up disappointing His Majesty. Leon wasn't wealthy enough to attend school. Leon only learned to read and write after he became the captain. My king, this humble servant is not worthy of accepting such a big position. Hearing Leon's reply, everyone was surprised. But Aditya smiled. Why do you think that you're not worthy? Aditya asked, but he already knew the answer. Because I have spent my whole life as a soldier. I have used these hands of mine to swing a sword. I am not educated enough. I don't have any experience in this field. I am not suited to become a noble. It would be better if you appoint someone else to this position. In the end, Leon couldn't bear to disappoint the emperor. It was not as if he was desperate. Leon was happy with his current position and with his current salary. Really, thank you very much to all the... Because I have spent my whole life as a soldier. I have used these hands of mine to swing a sword. He is being honest. If he was greedy, then he would have accepted this position without a question. Aditya wanted honest people like Leon to work under him. What's the use of having talented men when you can't trust them? Leon, you can learn. The most important thing is taking the first step. Since the emperor's tone had left no room for discussion, Leon could only agree. It would be deemed rude and disrespectful if he still rejected Aditya's offer. All right. Leon still looked reluctant. Aditya was satisfied with Leon's reaction. Aditya then looked at Spencer. Spencer, make the declaration. Spencer nodded his head. Under everyone's gaze, the Prime Minister took out a golden royal scroll. Opening the golden royal scroll, Spencer made a few changes and added Leon's name. Leon and the other 8 former dukes kneeled before Aditya and lowered their heads. From this moment onward, under the order of His Majesty, the 8 anterior dukes along with Leon will be appointed as the governors of the 9 Shadow Islands. Leon, Thomas Evans, Lewis Wright, Zachary Jackson, Morgan Barrett, Charles Thompson, Nicholas Cheney, Robert Kidd, and Blake Holmes have been given the rank of Viscount. 1. Ashkur Island, Viscount Leon. 2. Summermond Island, Viscount Lewis Wright. 3. The Enchanted Home, Viscount Thomas Evans. 4. Vidon Island, Viscount Zachary Jackson. 5. Stoneminster Home, Viscount Morgan Barrett. 6. The Starfish Island, Viscount Charles Thompson. 7. The Pearl Chain, Viscount Nicholas Cheney. 8. Brisberg Island, Viscount Robert Kidd. 9. Langboya Islands, Viscount Blake Holmes. From this moment onward, Leon, Thomas Evans, Lewis Wright, Zachary Jackson, Morgan Barrett, Charles Thompson, Nicholas Cheney, Robert Kidd, and Blake Holmes will accommodate His Majesty in the Eastern Imperium with their heart and soul. His Majesty has placed his hope and prospects on you. You are authoritatively mandated to develop your territories and live up to His Majesty's prospects. From this moment onward, your souls and your bloodline will be bound to the terms and conditions of this contract. Failing to follow any one of the conditions will result in your and your family's death. Work to develop your territories. Work for the golden future of the Eastern Imperium. Do not do anything to apostatize the Eastern Imperium and His Majesty. Now, I need a drop of your blood to make everything official. Spencer stepped towards the kneeling viscounts. While others watched the entire process in silence. Leon was the first one to give a drop of his blood. The drop of his blood fell on the golden royal scroll. As soon as the blood touched the royal scroll, the scroll glowed in bright white light. A few later, the bright white light dimmed down and then disappeared. Spencer then moved to Thomas. Aditya silently watched the process. Normally I would have held a big grand ceremony for this kind of event, but now I simply don't have time. Maybe after I am done with the Echo Nexus Empire I will hold a banquet so that all the nobles can meet each other. After Viscount Blake Holmes was done, Spencer closed the golden royal scroll. Congratulations. After congratulating the new viscounts, Spencer returned to his original position. I want the nobles of the Niwen Empire to step forward. Hearing this, the nobles who have been brought to the throne hall along with Elio and John nervously nodded their heads before stepping forward. While the newly appointed viscounts went back and stood along with other Dragonians. The geography of the Niwen Empire wasn't that complex. The Niwen Empire was even bigger than the Shadow Islands Empire. The Niwen Empire is located next to the Shadow Islands Empire. Both empires have been friends for centuries. Hence, there was no friction between them. Both empires have always stood together. The Niwen Empire was made up of 5 islands. Unlike Shadow Islands where clouds prevented the sunlight from reaching the Shadow Islands 11 months out of 12 months, the Niwen Empire total opposite. The 5 islands that made up the Niwen Empire were big as the largest Shadow Island, big as the Enchanted Home. The Niwen Empire was the 3rd largest empire within the western region. The Niwen Empire is an agriculture-based economy. Around 69% of the entire Niwen Empire's revenue came from agriculture. Agriculture was the way of life for the people who lived in the Niwen Empire. The 5 islands that made up the Niwen Empire had fertile land. The climate and the availability of water made agriculture a very profitable occupation. The Shadow Islands relied on the Niwen Empire for their food supply. Whether it was meat or vegetable or rice, almost everything came from Niwen Empire. Militarily, the Niwen Empire wasn't strong as the Shadow Islands Empire. The empire had an estimation of around 500,000 troops. Among them, 500,000 troops, only a few thousand troops were 3rd-order cultivators. The Niwen Empire had only 2 beginner 5th-order cultivators. After Eastern Empire took over, around 100,000 troops surrendered while the other 400,000 troops were either killed or fled from the battlefield. As for the two Fifth Order cultivators, Rhea was the one who killed them. Just like the Shadow Islands, John directly kept the capital island of the Niwen Empire under his control. While the other 4 Niwen islands were controlled by 4 noble families. Just like Liam, John never allowed the political power of the 4 noble families to grow as this would threaten his position. But John wasn't cruel as Liam. John had no ambition of expanding this empire. The only reason he supported Liam and Elio is that he wanted to decrease his empire's dependency on other empires for the supply of mana stones. Eastern Emperor, don't think that I will serve you. I don't want to become a slave to the contract. Before Aditya could say anything, Duke Alexander Burke made his position clear. Duke Alexander saw the contract as a way of turning the nobles into slaves. Alexander was a prideful man. Even during the reign of John, he never bowed his head. Hearing this, Aditya's eyes became cold. Aditya wasn't offended by the fact that Duke Alexander refused his offer even before he could say anything. He was offended by Duke Alexander's attitude. Bang! Rhea angrily stomped the ground with her right foot. The power from her right leg caused spider web-like cracks to appear around her. At this moment, the goddess's eyes were glowing in cold green. Seeing her gaze, Alexander's body started shaking. Drops of sweat began rolling down his face. Alexander felt as if he was staring at the goddess of death. His body felt heavy. He knew that his next mouth could be the end of his life. Watch your tongue, peasant. Say another rude word to Aditya and I swear on my husband's name, I will slaughter your entire family right before your eyes. Rhea's words weren't just empty threats. If this man really said another rude thing to Aditya, then no one can stop her from slaughtering this man's entire family and his bloodline. In Rhea's eyes, even a man like Duke Alexander was a peasant. After all, Rhea was the goddess of nature. She was the princess of the celestial terrain continent. Even 0.1% of Rhea's wealth can buy this man at least 100 times. Normally Rhea isn't the type to look down on others. The goddess of nature believed that every being that nature has created was equal and important to this world. However, the Yandra goddess wouldn't tolerate it if her husband is disrespected right before her. I would have killed this man if Aditya wasn't here. Rhea tightly clenched her fists in anger. She felt her blood boiling. The kind and merciful goddess wouldn't feel any guilt or regret if she slaughters this man's entire family right now. Hearing Rhea's words, not just Alexander, but also the other 3 ex-nobles of the Niwen Empire stepped back while looking at Rhea in fear. They were afraid. Looking at her face, who knows when this woman might end their life. After all, she was a beginner 5th Order cultivator. Aditya, let me kill this guy. Rhea gritted her teeth and looked at Alexander as if she was looking at her prey. Seeing this, Alexander took a few steps back in fear. The generals, Spencer, the Dragonians, and Viscounts frowned and gave Alexander cold gazes. There is no need to dirty your beautiful hands. Aditya took out another chair and placed the chair next to his. Sit down. Like an obedient child, the goddess quickly calmed down and sat down. Aditya then held her right hand, making the goddess smile in happiness. Seeing this, others were dumbfounded. Just a second ago, this woman was looking like a wild animal that couldn't wait to kill Alexander. But now this woman changed into a gentle wife. If I let Rhea do whatever she wants, I am sure she will end up destroying this whole place. Aditya knew that his third wife had Yandra tendencies. It's not that he hated her personality or anything. He found her Yandra personality to be cute and charming to a certain extent, and only to a certain extent. Too much obsession and possessiveness weren't healthy at all. Really, thank you very much to all those. Alexander, earlier you said that contract is a way of making the nobles slaves, right? Aditya's words attracted Alexander's attention. Guess what, you're right to a certain extent. At the end of the day, you all are my enemy. Normally I would just put you all in prison or just end your lives. The contract is to make sure that none of the nobles can betray the Eastern Empire. The contract does not make you a slave in any way. All one has to do is follow the 3 conditions written in the contract. Aditya said these words to let everyone, including the newly appointed governors, know that Aditya wasn't trying to control them in any way. Aside from Alexander, is there anyone else who wishes to follow him? The entire place fell into silence. They would be fools if they rejected Aditya's offer. Even Alexander was starting to regret rejecting Aditya's offer. Good. Alexander, since you don't want to serve me, let Spencer tell you about your future. At that moment, Alexander that he was done. His lips quivered to speak, but no words came out of his mouth. Spencer coldly looked at Alexander. Your cultivation will be crippled. All of your belongings and your family's belongings will be seized. And lastly, you and your family are banned from ever stepping into the Eastern Empire. Aditya then looked at Spencer and nodded his head. Please, don't do this to me. Alexander fell to his knees and started beginning Aditya. However, Aditya didn't look at Alexander at all. He totally ignored the man. Alexander bought this fate with his own hands. If he wasn't rude to Aditya, then Aditya would have given Alexander a new chance to start his family outside the Eastern Empire. But now Aditya didn't care what happened to him. Spencer looked at Josh and said, "Do it." Josh stepped forward. Before Alexander could react, a strong punch landed on his heart. Bang! Ah! Cough! Alexander fell to his knees before coughing out a mouthful of blood. He then looked at Aditya and then passed out. Seeing what was happening in front of them, some nobles had to turn their heads away. This was just too cruel. Destroying a cultivator's cultivation was much more painful than killing them. Throw him and his family in the White Desert. Hearing this, the other ex-nobles' bodies trembled in fear. One had to know that the White Desert that Prime Minister Spencer was talking about was located in the dry savanna continent. The dry savanna continent was the hottest continent out there. The White Desert is the largest desert in the whole world. It is said that once someone is lost in the White Desert, that person's life is basically over, as getting out of the White Desert is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Two Dragonians grabbed Alexander and dragged him out of the throne hall. Now let's continue, Aditya said with a smile. He pretended as if Alexander didn't exist. Kenny Norman, Joseph Andrews, and Yasmin Parker, I am willing to give you three a second chance. If you don't want to serve me, that's fine. You can reject my offer. I swear I won't harm you. Kenny Norman, Joseph Andrews, and Yasmin Parker looked at each other and nodded their heads. They have lived their entire lives as nobles. They were not sure if they can live a normal life at this point. Besides, the offer came from the Eastern Empire. In the dying Al continent, who doesn't know about the Eastern Empire and the Eastern King? Getting the chance of serving the Eastern Emperor would be an honor. We accept. Good. Aditya nodded his head with a satisfied look. Aditya then moved to call the ex-nobles from the Kizia Empire. Just like the ex-nobles of the Niwan Empire, they too also accepted Aditya's offer and agreed to serve him. The Kizia Empire was a very small empire. The empire was made up of 4 islands. What enabled the Kizia Empire to grow into an empire is its natural resources. The 4 islands of the Kizia Empire had a total of 9 gold mines. Among the 3 empires that Aditya conquered, the Kizia Empire was the richest empire. Mainly because of the 9 gold mines. Being rich meant that the Kizia Empire also had a strong military. The 4 islands had 800,000 troops. Out of the 800,000 troops, 300,000 troops surrendered. The rest were either killed or managed to flee. 300,000 troops were more than enough to protect the islands. If Aditya turned even 10,000 of the troops into Dragonians, then these 10,000 Dragonians would be able to take on an army of 300,000 and win. The Lion Island and the Kingfisher Island are still left without a governor. Spencer, do you have any capable and also trustworthy individuals who can take on the role of governing these 2 islands? Aditya asked his prime minister. Spencer replied with a smile. Your Majesty, in fact, there are many individuals who are more than capable enough to take on this role. The first one is a Dragonian. His name is Mason Lin. Oh. Tell me more about him. Aditya became interested. If Spencer was speaking highly of this Dragonian, then this Dragonian must be someone extraordinary or must be someone who has accomplished something extraordinary. Mason Lin is one of the first 100 Dragonians. Mason is talented in managing. Mason received high-level education before joining the Eastern military. He often helps me out with skills. Aside from management, Mason is talented, hardworking, and has a nice personality. Mason is diligent. He spends most of his free time cultivating. He has now reached beginner 4th order. Alright. Tell me about the other person. Aditya nodded his head and asked Spencer about the other person. The other person whom I would like to recommend is Lucas Brooks. Your Majesty, Lucas Brooks is the cousin of Duke Zane. Hearing this, Aditya wasn't surprised. In fact, he also thought of Lucas Brooks when asking Spencer. Previous Duke Eastguard had betrayed the Eastern Empire. Zane, who was the commander of Duke Eastguard, helped Aditya. Aditya later appointed Zane as the Duke. Zane also married Eastguard's daughter Kaya, as both of them were in love. Zane's cousins worked under Zane for a short period of time before deciding to join the Eastern military. When Lucas joined the military, Watson had informed Aditya about this. Watson had asked the superiors to keep a close eye on Lucas. Aditya thought that Zane would use his powers to promote Lucas in the military, but nothing like that happened. Instead, Lucas never even mentioned to anyone that he is the cousin of Duke Zane. Within a month, Lucas proved himself that he had the potential to become one of the best. Whatever mission he was given, he was able to complete it in time and perfectly. In a few months, Lucas became one of the best Eastern soldiers. Not only that, but also, Lucas became the fastest soldier to reach the rank of captain. Because of this, Aditya had turned Lucas into a Dragonian as well. Spencer, tell me, why are you recommending Lucas? Aditya wanted to know. Even Watson had praised Lucas many times in front of Aditya. Your Majesty, I think General Henry should speak of Lucas's character. Lucas joined Henry's division. In fact, Lucas was one of the best soldiers that Henry had in his division. So it would be fair if Henry spoke instead of Spencer. Everyone's attention fell on Henry. The cold, ruthless general of the Eastern Empire. The general always wore a cold expression that kept others away from him. Henry remained quiet most of the time. But when he opened his mouth, others always listened to him. Your Majesty, Lucas is the best soldier that I have ever trained. Lucas is much smarter than me. He is intelligent, he knows how to lead and command. He is a hardworking young man. He isn't the type to be distracted from his goal easily. Lucas has also worked under Duke Zane, so he has experience in governing. I think Lucas is perfect for this job. And so, another declaration was made. Alright. Bring them here. Aditya had no problem with Lucas and Mason becoming nobles. Within 5 minutes, both tan-skinned, muscular men were kneeling before Aditya. Stand up. As both of them stood up, they raised their chest high. Both Dragonians had a different aura from normal cultivators. Their auras were much more fierce. Just from a glance, people would be able to tell that they are not ordinary soldiers. Their eyes were filled with respect and endless admiration for the Dragon Monarch. Aditya felt if he ordered them to take their own lives, they wouldn't hesitate to do it. Lucas and Mason, I want you to become the governor of the Lion Island and the Kingfisher Island. What do you think? Aditya asked. If both of them refused, Aditya would just send them back. It would be our honor. Good. Aditya looked at Spencer and nodded his head. Spencer understood what he need to do. And so, another declaration was made. From this moment onward, under the order of His Majesty, the 7 anterior dukes along with Captain Lucas and Mason will be appointed as the governors of the 9 islands. Lucas Brooks, Mason Lynn, Kenny Norman, Joseph Andrews, Yasmin Parker, Isaac Thompson, Aidan Clark, Damon Chavez, and Thomas Wallace have been given the rank of Viscount. Bursbury Island, Isaac Thompson. Suna Tropic, Aidan Clark. White Tiger Haven, Damon Chavez. Green Island, Thomas Wallace. Pink Turtle Island, Kenny Norman. Gorgon's Reef, Joseph Andrews. Sweetfish Island, Yasmin Parker. Lion Island, Mason Lynn. Kingfisher Island, Lucas Brooks. From this moment onward, Lucas Brooks, Mason Lynn, Kenny Norman, Joseph Andrews, Yasmin Parker, Isaac Thompson, Aidan Clark, Damon Chavez, and Thomas Wallace will accommodate His Majesty in the Eastern Imperium with their heart and soul. His Majesty has placed his hope and prospects on you. You are authoritatively mandated to develop your territories and live up to His Majesty's prospects. From this moment onward, your souls and your bloodline will be bound to the terms and conditions of this contract. Failing to follow any one of the conditions will result in your and your family's death. Work to develop your territories. Work for the golden future of the Eastern Imperium. Do not do anything to apostatize the Eastern Imperium and His Majesty.